Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the joint meeting of the Birmingham City Commission and the Birmingham Planning Board. It is 7 p.m. on Monday, June 15th. We are at the Department of Public Works and Public Services at 851 South Eden Street in Birmingham. Please join me in standing and pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will ask City Clerk Alex Bingham to call the roll.
Mayor Ballard.
Here.
Temporary Mayor Pro Tem Law. Here. Commissioner Haig.
Here.
Commissioner Hose.
Here.
Commissioner Kolb.
Here.
Commissioner Kozowski.
Here.
Planning Board Member Boyce.
Here.
Planning Board Member Boyle.
Here.
Planning Board Member Klein.
Present.
Planning Board Member Jeffries. Stewart Jeffries. Absent. Planning Board Member Larson.
Here.
Planning Board Member Scher.
Here.
Planning Board Member Williams.
Present.
Planning Board Alternate Curry.
Here.
And Planning Board Alternate Rahman. Here.
Such a turnout for a mundane discussion of a zoning ordinance rewrite. Thank you all for coming. Before we get to public comment, the city manager, Jana Ecker, would like to make a statement.
Yes, of course, in recognition of what happened over the weekend, we did understand that there would be some people out here tonight. I just want to address the issue of the pool party that happened, and I know that there were several residents that were concerned about noise, large crowds, blocked driveways, blocked streets, and some behavior that wasn't what we would expect in a Birmingham neighborhood. I just want you to understand that we've spent the weekend and all of today investigating and reviewing this matter, and there will be multiple tickets, or there have been multiple tickets issued, and I do have two gentlemen here with me tonight, Captain Simpson of the Birmingham Police Department and Building Official Jeff Zilke, to address each of the violations and tickets that have been issued as a result of the incident on the weekend. But I want to start by saying that this was not a short-term rental in the sense that short-term rentals is on the agenda tonight. Tonight we're talking about short-term rentals such as if you go on Airbnb and you want to rent a house for a day or a night or 3 days. This was not an Airbnb or a VRBO or a short-term rental. What it was something that, frankly, this is the first time it's come up in Birmingham. It was the rental of the pool to people who wanted to rent out the pool to a third party, an independent party, to come in and rent the pool. And it was advertised on the website as a commercial use and said you can rent out the pool, here's the charge. I just want you to know, while it's not a short-term rental, it is illegal. Our zoning ordinance does not allow private pools to be used for public events hosted by others in a single-family residential neighborhood. It does not. So right now, the ordinances that we have on the books already address this, and that will be one of the tickets that you will hear referred to a little later tonight. So I want you to all to understand this is not a permitted use right out of the gate. And certainly all of the behavior and notices that ensued, or all of the issues that ensued, are also not something that we want to see happen in our neighborhoods, and we are taking it very seriously and addressing it. What I want to say is that the police also did respond several times. They came for noise violations earlier in the day, earlier in the party, and then when they got there later, there was a violation where it had exceeded the noise limit, and they shut the party down. Unfortunately, the police got called away to a motorcycle accident on Woodward, and upon their return, this was all of the people exiting the party. Not that I'm saying there was any excuse for it, but a lot of actions were taken on that night and subsequent to it. So I do want to have Captain Simpson address the tickets that have been issued with regarding to conduct and so on. And then building official Zilke will address some zoning and building violations as well that have also been issued today.
Yeah, so for those who don't know me, I'm Captain Simpson. I'm the investigations captain with the police department. So that day, like we had stated, about 4 p.m., we started getting noise complaints, traffic complaints, those sorts of things. The violations that ended up being issued to the homeowner included 3 misdemeanors of permitting a gathering of disorderly persons, breach of peace, and public nuisance violations, as well as the event host who received permitting gathering of disorderly persons, decibel level prohibitions violations as well. In addition to those incidents or violations, they, with assistance from Beverly Hills Public Safety, responding when the party was being shut down, we did a significant level of additional traffic enforcement of vehicles leaving the scene or leaving the neighborhood that resulted in 1 other arrest, as well as at least 2 to 3 or 4 other violations, one of those being a misdemeanor as well, at which point the investigation continued today, where we started working with the zoning and building department to go through everything else.
Thank you. And now, building official Zilke will go over the tickets and violations issued with regard to city code.
Jeff Zilke.
Well, Jeff,
Yes.
we'll take questions and comments in a moment. Okay.
So regarding the zoning, it is a private residence, so a pool is used for private use and it's not a commercial use. So there was a ticket issued for the use of the pool as a commercial use. And as far as there's been violations, because there's 3 open building permits over there, a violation's been issued for all those 3 permits to get that cleared up. And we're just addressing that and getting it taken care of.
Which include the pool, the deck, and a garage,
And there's
correct?
a garage, a detached garage, a pool, so there needs some as-built surveys, and the pool and the deck actually had some violations to get corrected, so they have not been corrected yet.
So all of these have been issued, and I understand that the homeowner is on his way back from out of town, so there'll be more to come, I'm quite sure.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to public comment in a minute, but before I do, I'd like to get as many facts out as possible, and you've done a pretty good job. I'd say an excellent job of getting most of the facts out. But if anybody on the City Commission or the Planning Board has any specific factual questions that they'd like to ask, please do so now. I would ask, was there any documented property damage? No?
Yes.
Okay.
My daughter's car was a hit and run.
Okay.
So that was one of the incidents that the police department responded to. I'm not sure if that was.
Can you come to the microphone?
Yes, sir. Sorry. So as I mentioned, the traffic enforcement that was conducted, the hit and run vehicle was something that they responded to. There is a police report generated for that. And I believe, was it Officer Kuza that responded, or?
Is that female?
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, there was a report made for that. I don't know if, I believe there was a misdemeanor citation issued for that to the driver of the opposite vehicle. So that was a crash report.
No, he fled.
What's that?
He fled the scene.
Okay. My understanding is they were able to identify the owner. I could be wrong on that, but my understanding is, I believe that was one of the misdemeanor citations that was issued to the driver of that fleeing vehicle, as well as several other traffic stops that were made there with civil infractions issued, and then 1 arrest of a driver that was leaving the party as well.
Okay, there were violations for noise level, is that correct?
Yeah, so I guess initially when we went out there at 4 p.m., we responded 5 additional times after that initial noise complaint. First time we went over there, the lieutenant and the officers spoke with the security personnel that were over there. They were actually super cooperative. They did turn down the music. There was no decibel reading violations until 8:30, which is when we got a decibel reading that violated the ordinances, and then they shut the party down. As far as, I think there was probably at least 4 or 5 decibel readings throughout the day.
And from what you reported, I gathered, please confirm that most of the disturbance outside the party occurred as when they shut down the party and asked people were.
Correct. That was my understanding of it, is once they made the decision to shut down the party with the positive decibel reading level, they actually didn't even get a chance to go to the front door to talk to security. They got dispatched to that PI accident. And on the way there, the lieutenant in charge contacted the security detail who we had been speaking with throughout the night, and actually had him start shutting the party down while the police were on scene at the
So
PI
there was a
accident.
security.
Yeah, there was
party,
a security. Yep.
Can you give us any background or information about what kind of party this was? Who threw it? What was it all about?
So I don't know what the reason was for the gathering. From speaking with some people today, it sounds like it was a group of friends that had played football together growing up, from Pee Wee football all the way up and through. So that's
Okay,
what.
well-
It was a promoter.
Yeah. So the individual who actually rented it, we did speak with him and his mother today, and that was the story of how they know each other. Obviously, it got bigger than what I think they anticipated, and so that's what we're looking at. with it.
Were they charging admission?
They were charging
Yes.
admission, yes. Yep.
Unless you were They were also checking purses and bags for firearms.
Correct. Yeah. That was the security
Okay.
detail that was there. Yes.
I wanna maintain some amount of order, and you
Yeah.
all will be given an opportunity to speak, to clarify, to comment, whatever. Like I said, I wanna get as many facts out as possible so that we're all hopefully dealing from the same set of facts. I think I read somewhere that there may have been fights. Was there any evidence that you had that there were?
They did get dispatched back, so when they were at the PI accident, one of the dispatch calls that got sent them back over there, or a portion of our staff back over there, was a report of a fight. When they got there was no indication that people were fighting, and nobody came forward to them as victims of a fight or being involved in a fight that I'm aware of.
And
Or that was
obviously,
reported to us since then.
given the experience we had on Lincoln
Yeah.
a month or two ago, I think people would be concerned if there were arms.
Correct.
Was there any evidence of any arms, or
I don't
were
believe-
they patting people down, these security people, or what?
My understanding from speaking with Lieutenant Linky and Lieutenant Buttigieg was that anybody who was paying admission to enter the party, they were going through purses, bags, clothing, to make sure that there were no firearms or no weapons that got brought into the party.
Thanks.
So the security staff that was on scene, actually, they worked with us very well. They did actually a very good job. And then unfortunately, when we decided to shut it down, and that's however many, couple hundred people leaving at the same time, unfortunately, that's where I think most of the behavior came from that was concerning.
And there's no intent here to embarrass anyone,
Yeah.
but had you been aware that this use was illegal according to our ordinances,
So-
I'm guessing you would have shut it down a lot sooner.
Correct, yeah, so I think that's something that more falls under the zoning. So when we go to something like this, we're looking at noise, disorderly, those types of things from the criminal statute side of it. It would be something that, and the lieutenants both did document that, while there was no noise violations or no ordinance violations at the time, they did document that it would be turned over for further investigation to code enforcement and the zoning department and building official for review for those types of things, that then they would take over that part of the investigation.
And is it likely that you guys will better familiarize yourselves
Yeah,
with
we did a
the
very
zoning?
in-depth discussion today with the city attorneys, and discussion as far as going forward. And now there's already been
So if
communication.
something like this were to occur tomorrow,
Correct.
you would be better equipped to deal with it.
Absolutely.
You'd shut it down
Yep.
much more quickly.
Yeah. Yep.
Again, commissioners, planning board members, Commissioner Kozlowski.
I think I already know the answer to this, but the situation is, this home is owned and is the primary residence of a Birmingham resident? Is that?
It is not his primary residence.
The home is owned, and listed, this person is the owner and has listed this as his home address in the past. That's as far as we can verify at this time.
His primary is not.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, please. I do have to maintain some order. So you will have an opportunity to speak, and as if no one has any questions from the boards, Commissioner.
Just a
Host.
point of order. Do we have some more chairs here for these people?
We're fine.
Sure.
Well, there are people spilling out into the hall, so if you guys could, if there's any way to come in and make room for the folks.
And then, point of order, I think that we should change the agenda to have A be B and B A because of the throng that are here.
You can make a motion on that after public comment. So sorry, I don't, it's not something my Commissioner Hay.
Thank you. There were a number of videos that are circulating that show events outside the property that appear to include quite a lot of public lewd behavior.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm trying to speak in this microphone. I always get a duff microphone, so I apologize. Because I'm not really that quiet. So, does it work now?
Yes.
Do I have to shout in it? All right. There are a number of videos that are circulating privately online showing a fair amount of public lewd behavior. Were there any tickets for that? Because that's pretty cut and dried. It was all outside the property in public.
Yeah, and I mean, besides the selective enforcement that we conducted as far as vehicles leaving there, unfortunately with the timing of the PI accident, and we did also include the assistance of Beverly Hills Public Safety once we got dispatched to that, but I think there was a gap there where, like we said, we talked about from the time the party got shut down, I think was when most of that occurred. But, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so our agenda tonight is, we're going to take public comment on this topic, and then we have two other topics to talk about, one of which is short-term rentals, the other is the rewrite of our zoning ordinance. So at this time, if you'd like to make a public comment, come to the microphone. We're going to allow, and this is for on any topic that's not on our agenda. And we're going to give you 2 minutes, and hopefully that will, you'll be able to say your piece. I would hope that you would not repeat what someone else has said, just say I agree with him about that point, and we can move on. State your name and your city of residence.
Sure thing. My name is Sam Elnajar, 271 Westchester, 2 houses down from the incident, Birmingham, Michigan. I've been a resident of Birmingham now for almost 16 years. We've had an amazing experience in Birmingham. We raised their family. We've got 2 beautiful boys that are here today that love playing in the front yard and love commingling with the children all down our street. The incident that happened on Saturday was completely absurd. I mean, I don't know how else to put that. All the families that were on our street were terrified in our homes. We were boarded up inside of our homes because we didn't know what was going to happen. My kids couldn't use our front yard. We couldn't use our backyard. The noise was loud. It wasn't as loud as previous parties have been, but it was very loud. There was a situation where the entire street was blocked off. I don't know if people have seen, but there is a video of a vehicle driving across people's lawns on Westchester, right in front of the party. Could have very easily hit a person, a child, an animal, whatever the case is. We all have animals that we walk. We like being outside, walking around, riding our bikes. People are on scooters, etc. We were not able to do any of that. There was a situation where I was trying to pull into my driveway. I was stuck on our street, no exaggeration, for 15 minutes trying to pull into my driveway. Had there been a situation where there was a fire at someone's house or a medical emergency somewhere, there is no way that the people would be able to, fire trucks or an ambulance would be able to get to our street. And this is extremely concerning. This situation needs to be taken care of. We cannot allow rentals of pools or having pool parties that have that many people. There was in excess of 200 people at this party. There was parking at the church parking lot. I don't know if the Birmingham police told them to go park there, but I know some of the cars were moved off of the street and they went over to the church parking lot. I've got 8 seconds left here. I love Birmingham. We love living here. I hope we can resolve this issue and this does not happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, I'm sure you all agree with everything that's going to be said, and so let's refrain from applause. Or booing, for that matter.
How you doing? My name is Brian Sullivan. I live at 314 Larchley Drive. I share a fence with 307 Westchester since August of 2023. This has been ongoing. This isn't the first time. This is the first time that he got caught. I have had to explain new words to my children countless times. Profanity. We don't allow our children in the backyard. There's no peace. We get no peace. The music is in our bedroom, in our kitchen, and this is ongoing. Not just last Saturday. We've been living this the summer of 24 and the summer in 2025 since he put that pool in. So it's a systemic problem with the homeowner. I'm all in favor for banning pool rentals, Airbnbs, but it goes deeper than that. So yeah, we haven't had a fun 3 summers yet. So, and it's a shame. I had to take my kids to my mom's house on Saturday. I got home from the gym around 6 o'clock, and I could smell the weed all the way into Larchley. My entire house reeked of weed. My entire house reeked of weed. So I've had some pretty contentious exchanges with the homeowner over the years, and he feels that he is at no fault here. So I appreciate actually the overwhelming response from the community. I thought that myself and another neighbor that share a fence with him were gonna have to battle this alone. So first of all, I thought about that today, just the overwhelming response from the community and also from community leaders. So I appreciate everything that you've done, but it's no fun when you can't enjoy your house in the summer. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi there, James McCarthy. I live at 262 Westchester Way, pretty much across from Sam. I don't want to repeat anything he said. I'll just say that there were also 2 or 3 different guys driving the reason I even went out in the first place was to ask the guys on 3-wheelers to stop using the sidewalks as their way of getting around, because those things are fast, and kids, that's where kids play. Animals and people try to walk when there's not, chaos in the streets. So that's the reason I went out there, and when I went out there to tell that guy that maybe he should not do that is when my daughter's car was hit, and I tried to get that guy to stop and give us his information, and of course he drove off, but thankfully I guess he got caught, so good. But I agree with you that you can't be a hostage in your own house, and that's a bit what it's like. Or if you do go outside and ask people to calm down when they were leaving, things like, we're going to take over your neighborhood are said. And I'm like, oh yeah, how? In what way do you mean? Like, come on, it's silly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can I speak from back here?
I'm sorry, you do have to come to the microphone.
No problem.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Kathy McCarthy. I've been a resident of Birmingham for more than 30 years, and I'm here tonight as a neighbor who cares deeply about our community and the character of our residential neighborhoods. I appreciate the city is taking a thoughtful look at short-term rentals and related uses. Birmingham has already experienced firsthand how activities occurring at rental properties can result in serious consequences for surrounding residents. Earlier this year, the city took action following a highly publicized shooting at a short-term rental property. That action demonstrated the city's recognition that what happens at these properties can extend far beyond the property lines and impact the safety and quality of life of an entire neighborhood. This issue became very real for my neighborhood this past weekend. Over the course of approximately 6 hours, what appeared to be several hundred people came and went from a paid event being held at a residential property in our neighborhood. The event was advertised and rented through a platform that allows homeowners to rent their backyard and pool by the hour. What occurred was far beyond what most people would reasonably expect in a residential neighborhood. Residents observed excessive noise, dangerous traffic conditions, public intoxication, public nudity occurring in plain view on neighborhood streets. Three-wheelers being driven on sidewalks where children were riding bikes. Most concerning, my daughter's legally parked vehicle was struck by an intoxicated driver who fled the scene. The impact of this event extended far beyond the property where it was being hosted. It affected every family living nearby. I want to be clear that this is not about one property owner. It is about whether residential neighborhoods should be expected to absorb the impacts of what effectively a commercial event venue operating within a residential zoning district. When a property is marketed to the public, rented by the hour, and attracts hundreds of attendees, it raises questions about zoning, permitting, parking, safety. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Brian Homer. I live at 220 Westchester. And aside from the plethora of information you guys have been given and seen online, I want to give kudos to the Birmingham Police Department for being present. But let's get to the reality of the situation. When I was speaking with the Birmingham Police, there's only so much they can do. The reason they couldn't be more present is because they're spread thin, and they were getting called to accidents on Woodward and other issues that were going on in the neighborhood where they couldn't be present on the street at all times, which you can't expect them to. But let me ask the officer a question. With the hundreds of people at this event, thankfully it was not unruly, but if it got to that point, how equipped is the Birmingham PD to handle a crowd of unruly people when there's hundreds? God forbid there's gunfire or a fight breaks out.
I will just say that I think you saw a prime example of that in April when we did have, shots being fired. And
Correct.
We had several individuals in custody, and you saw the collaboration with us and our neighboring jurisdictions and our mutual aid partners. And I mean, that was probably the most positive outcome on that situation. I think that kind of demonstrates
What you can do,
what
absolutely.
we
So as a
do in a
learning
short amount of
experience
time. Yep.
and preventing history from repeating itself, when you've got hundreds and hundreds of patrons on a street where the street's blocked and first responders and officers can't get to a situation, what are we supposed to do as homeowners? Arm ourselves? And then what? Something's got to be done. Whatever the red tape in the jurisdiction has to happen. From what I understand, the homeowner is a volunteer hearing officer for the city of Birmingham. He's an attorney. He has a pool in his house that hasn't been properly permitted, and he's now using it for commercial gain, financial gain. What are we doing here, guys, gals? Guys, this has to be a resolved situation, not something that they can find another loophole. People can find another loophole to put neighbors in harm's way and have an event, not for a celebratory reason. They've had events in the past. They've had parties in the past. This wasn't for a celebratory reason. This was a profit-making machine, is what it was. And it was a dangerous situation. And fortunately, for all of us, it didn't get out of hand, but it very easily could have. There was an altercation that broke out. There were sex demonstrations going on in the streets. It was pathetic for any city, let alone Birmingham. Action's got to be taken with this. You got kids. These kids right there, they're my neighbors. And the kids on my street, our street, they're not the typical Xbox on their phone, on their electronics. These kids play with one thing every single day. You know what it is? It's outside, like we did when we were kids. And this was the day when they couldn't go outside out of fear. Not just because of the crowds, but because of the racing up and down the streets, the cruising, the burning rubber. When I finally called the police after they'd been there a dozen times or so, it was because two kids went outside to play Frisbee. Now, Frisbee is a little different of a sport, so to speak, than throwing a football or a baseball that you're hitting your target. Frisbees go everywhere. And this Frisbee was going across the street, in the street, and there's cars burning rubber down the street. And that's when I called the police, because it just was not safe anymore for the kids or the community. And hopefully you guys can shut this thing down. Like I said, the fact that this guy is a volunteer for the city of Birmingham is absolutely pathetic.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi there, my name's Cassie Sobelton. I recognize a lot of people in this room, but there's a whole lot of new people, so I wanted to get up and offer a slightly different perspective. I know that the last meeting last week for the planning board, there were some discussions about wanting to understand the owner-occupied piece of it. And for those in the room that don't know me, I own and live in a home in Birmingham, and I rent that home out maybe 2-3 times a week, or a year, a week at a time, through Airbnb. So I'm an owner-occupied Airbnb, and the reason I do this is to help with costs of living in the home. I have a 1900s home. It's expensive. I'm a sole owner. I'm an entrepreneur. There are years that it gets ahead of me, I mean, with the taxes and the upkeep and whatnot. So I rent to literally PGA Tour champions. I rent to the people coming to the tennis classic. I have great renters. My neighbors have no problems. They've all told me they'll write letters. I just want to kind of offer that perspective, as there's two very different types of Airbnbs. I mean, there are owner-occupied Airbnbs where these people come into our homes. They are exposed to everything I own. Every single piece of furniture, every piece of art, every purse I have in my closet that I lock up. I mean, I know that sounds nuts, but like, they have to be 5-star reviewed. They have to have many reviews. They have to be vetted. I don't mess around like that, right? So I would let a different type of clientele into my home than someone who's running it for a profit, someone who's running it as a business. I think that differentiation should be made and can be made, and my God, I'm hoping you make it. And I don't want to see what's happening here. I mean, when I saw the videos online yesterday, I just, you know, the way a few can ruin it for the rest, it's unfortunate, and I'm so sorry for everyone that's going through this. But I just wanted to offer that as another perspective, and hopefully a carve-out or something can be accommodated. And thank you for all you guys are doing. I've been to meetings for months on this. There's a lot happening, and for those that are new, just know this is a top priority for the city. Thank you.
We're going to be discussing short-term rentals later on in the meeting.
Should we wait later for that?
Yes, please. This is for comment on matters that are not already on the agenda. The incident on your street was not on the agenda. We are happy to take all the comment you want to give us on that, answer any question so that we can, you know, move on with our business and resolve the situation.
Yep. Hi, Brad McCloskey. I live at 186 West Chester Way. I agree with all the comments about the incident. It was absurd. But what really shocked my wife and I and my sister, who lives right behind the party, is the lack of response from the police department. Like, call the police, warn them of the party. They were at my sister's house holding a microphone over the fence trying to get a decibel reading. As they're watching 500 people tear apart the backyard, have obscene sexual scenes going on, and they're like, oh, we welcome anyone to Birmingham. There was not one Birmingham resident at the party. And when you go to Birmingham parties, they don't check you for guns and knives. They don't have security details. This, you could tell it was not a neighborly party. So what has to happen for you guys to step in and do your job next time? Like what has to happen? More gunshots through a window? Like, just step up, get a spine, and walk in and shut down the party, and don't worry about if there's like some little paperwork you have to fill out. Just please protect the community. When you can see, using your rational mind, it got out of control. It was out of control. And the officer stands there and looks at me and he goes, but they're not violating any laws. It was about to explode. I don't know what it was about to explode. It could have got real quick. There were a lot of drunk people. There could have been weapons in cars. What could have happened if they would have started shooting? It didn't happen, luckily. But let's next time use our rational judgment as police officers and think about, let's stop it before it explodes. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Alicia. I actually live on this side of town, so was one of the residents in the neighborhood where the shooting was, a little while back. And on Saturday night, I was driving with my husband, and we slammed on our brakes on Maple Road because a group of inebriated, scantily clad people were crossing Maple from Redeemer Church. And we both said, wow, wonder what's going on. Like, literally, these people are just running across the street in the middle of Maple. And come to find out, it was this party. And what I was really frustrated by seeing this was we just saw this happen like a month and a half ago in our neighborhood. And it ended in gun violence with bullets going through a home in our community where my kids walk, they play, they bike. This was during the day on a beautiful summer day. And I get everyone's afraid of being sued. Like, I get that as a police officer arriving at the scene, what's the charge? We have city attorneys. Was the city attorney called? Did we reach out to that attorney and say, hey, can you do a quick research on the municipal laws, on the zoning ordinances? What can we use to shut this party down? It's getting dangerous for the homeowners, the neighbors, the kids. As a taxpayer, so upsetting, so frustrating to know you guys didn't do anything, especially in light of what happened. And I think we should utilize our resources. My taxes go to a city attorney. Call them. Call them.
Rob Worth, 377 South Glenhurst, Birmingham. We'd be just one block over, essentially, from the house in question on Westchester. First of all, thank you all for reacting as you have, and as quickly as you have. Really do appreciate that. We've had a couple of them, but a large text thread going on with the neighborhood around there. We've got people from Glenhurst, Larchlea, Midvale, all the surrounding neighborhood. And the text thread has just been blowing up over the last 48 hours. And we've been able to get a lot of pretty good information through friends of the council, the police, et cetera. So really do sincerely appreciate that. Appreciate that you gentlemen are here tonight to talk with us about that and help us just get information. As you can all appreciate, that information is really helpful. Even if it's not always exactly what we want to hear when we want to hear it, that communication is key. So we really do appreciate that. I agree with everything everyone has said here. Personally, we're not on Westchester, but cars were ripping down our street at 60, 70 miles an hour. So our kids fortunately weren't home, but that's obviously concerning, as it would be for anybody here. So it really is impacting the whole neighborhood. So I think everybody resonates with that. But I just want to make that clear as somebody who's not directly on that street, but one adjacent street over. A couple other things, just kind of factual. One thing I want to call out factually. I believe, from what I've heard from folks that are a little bit closer, maybe on Westchester, but I want to just confirm. I think it's worth calling out that this particular party was not rented through the app. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. This was outside of the Swimly app. So I think that's an important thing to distinguish between, because we could shut down the Swimly app, and this exact same thing would have still happened. So, I'd like to think that, with some of the comments here that were said, perhaps one of the ways this could have gotten shut down earlier was just recognizing there's a commercial activity going on, in a residential zone neighborhood. We know that people were telling homeowners, partygoers were telling the homeowners, and the host was telling the homeowners, just give us a couple more hours, man. We're trying to clear $1,500. So we know that this was happening. If the homeowners can figure this out, we'd like to think that this can be figured out more broadly as a community and get action that's taken a little faster. So I just want to call out that that's I think an important thing to distinguish between the app versus sort of off app, which could really just happen at any time. Anybody could do that. You don't need an app to do that. And then, I think I really do appreciate the response and the ticketing and the violations that occurred with the Birmingham PD and the adjacent jurisdictions. It is concerning to think that just driving down Maple to my home around 4 o'clock, the number of violations within just vision, field of view, is phenomenal. I mean, everything everybody's mentioned here, public intox left and right. I could have written 20 tickets for public intox. Just walking the half block to Midvale, speeding all over the place, like we said. And everything else that everybody mentioned. So I think, speaking as a resident in that neighborhood, yes, the big thing, but also there's just seemingly all these little things that were there as well, that I think several people, remarked on here. It's like, how much more do we need to point to say, let's just find a way to shut this down? Literally illegal, commercial party in a residential zone, and many, 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 more minor infractions left and right. You could have, see them all over the place. So just wanted to lay out a couple more of that factual piece that, really appreciate you wanting some of those facts. I think you need those to make decisions, and then just kind of call out just all that peripheral activity that seemingly should have been in aggregate enough to shut down something that already should have, on its own merit, been able to be shut down. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Axelson. I live at 956 Westchester, resident for close to 40 years. In light of what's been discussed today, I'm curious what the administration and also the law enforcement recommends that homeowners do in situations like that, where we're afraid. And just if you can help us understand what limits we have and what should we be doing.
I think you did do the right thing. I think you called the police. Look, we hear you. I think there isn't a person sitting up here at the table who doesn't hear you, doesn't feel for you. It wasn't shocked when we heard about this, and didn't demand that the administration investigate it and figure out what happened and what we need to do to prevent it from happening again. I think we're most of the way there. I can't guarantee that something like this won't happen again. I can pretty much guarantee you that the police are aware that this is not legal. It's not going to happen. I can pretty much guarantee you that we're going to address short-term rentals over the next month or 2 or 3 and get that squared away. We hear you loud and clear.
Mayor, you said that this clearly was not legal?
That's correct.
Okay, so can we direct to the officers, please? Because when
we already did.
Okay, they said there's nothing we can do, they have broken the law.
We already addressed that earlier. Maybe you weren't here.
No, probably not.
They were not aware of the zoning law that prohibits this. This is similar to some of the situations with the Airbnbs. We have we're working on making sure, so we have 2 enforcement mechanisms. The police, who enforce traditional crimes, and code enforcement, which enforces the zoning ordinance and other issues of that nature. They tend to not
overlap.
Correct.
We're working on that.
We're getting them to overlap.
That's
We're getting the police more involved in zoning enforcement, and we're getting the zoning guys to be more aggressive in enforcement rather than in encouraging compliance. We're asking them to enforce.
But even for a residential situation, is there a capacity limit?
Yes, yeah. I think that's the crux of it too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's the question. Is there a capacity limit? Because
for residents too, right? Like, I don't want my next door neighbor throwing a party that literally has.
It's a good question. We've got the question on the table. Can you answer that?
I can't answer that. Outdoors, as far as residential, I don't believe there is anything that dictates. It's not a business that would have fire marshal code or anything that would dictate a capacity limit. So, unless somebody.
So it's outdoors.
Yeah, it's outdoors. It's in a backyard. There's not any capacity limits. It's not a fire code, fire marshal thing.
They were profiting. It was a business that.
Well, it was illegal, and we failed to shut it down based on its fundamental illegality. Okay, that was. I'm sorry. You can't be heard by a microphone, and I'm sorry, we can't engage like that. If you want to come up to the microphone and make a comment, you're I think you already did, right? Okay.
My name is Anita King. I've been a Birmingham resident for 2 years. I don't live on Westchester Way, but my son and his family do. And we were driving home. We had the same experience. We were driving home and ran into a crowd of people leaving the party. So it's great to know that it's illegal, but it has nothing to do with the fact that it was illegal that was the problem. The problem was it didn't get shut down. And the question is, when this guy who shows no regard for his neighbors has another party, whether he books it through the app or some other way, or under the table, or wink, wink, these are my family and friends, what are you guys going to do to help the neighborhood? What are you going to do to shut it down? And if it's true that this guy works for the town, shame on you.
He's an alternate. Okay, so just to address that, we will, what is the formal?
He's an alternate hearing officer, so it's a volunteer position that's appointed by the city commission. As a result of this behavior and activity that's gone on, there will be correspondence, and the process that we have in place, if someone refuses to resign, which we always ask them to do first, if they don't, there's a hearing at the city commission level in which the city commission can remove them from their position. This has been done. I would say it's probably been about 20 years, but it has been done, and it will be.
My name's Cliff King. Anita is my wife, resident of Birmingham for 2 years. And like she said, our son is next door neighbor to where the party was. Forgive me, I'm an engineer. I'm retired, got a lot of time in my hand. I was medical, and one of the things that I keep hearing was the police were trying to resolve the issue by making sound level measurements. Making sound level measurements is very difficult business. And so I'm just curious what kind of training the police officers have, number one, on how to make sound measurements, whether they've been trained on the particular equipment that's being used, and whether they've been trained on the ordinance for noise control in the town. And, you know, I don't want to be accusing, but those are extremely important things. Because, like I say, making a sound measurement, very difficult to do. And if it's not done right, you're going to get an inaccurate answer. And I'm afraid that's probably what was happening. Because if somebody's got a party going and they're cranking it, it's going to be louder than the town limit, which is a vacuum cleaner.
I would dispute that. I have dealt with the sound ordinance myself, and our limits are exceedingly high. Way too high, okay? And I can assure you these guys know what they're doing when it comes to measuring them. I've had them out to my house to measure the noise from 4 leaf blowers going next door, and it doesn't meet the ordinance. So, and this is a problem we have on Woodward Avenue with the noise there, similar. We're frustrated with it, but that's not the cause. Look, I think the police will be the first ones to say that they probably should have taken more aggressive action. Okay? Let's let that be the mea culpa here, and
Okay.
And I don't think it'll happen again.
Good evening, my name is Matt Fuller. I'm a lifelong Birmingham resident. This is something that's been on my mind for years now, and I remember reading an article in the Eagle several years ago with the staffing of the police department. And I think this may have been around the time where that joint venture took place between the surrounding communities. Again, I don't remember some of the details, but some of the questions that I've had is whether I heard somebody say that they were spread too thin on Saturday during this party, are we staffed correctly with a number of uniformed officers at any given time. I think that article at one time it stood out to me with the number of uniformed officers that were staffed overnight. It seemed very low. I understand the majority of the calls are domestic calls or, very small calls, but my safety concerns are I used to see foot patrols in the downtown area. I don't see that anymore. Foot patrols would walk through Dick O'Dow's. I remember that 20 years ago. They don't do that anymore. The bike patrols, I don't see those anymore.
We had a horse.
We had a horse, that's right, we did. And I just don't see those things anymore. So I'm wondering if it's a staffing issue and maybe an administrative issue at the police department, whether we have enough people there. Because like other people said, what are you going to do if all hell breaks loose and there's only 2 patrol cars, 3 patrol cars, 6 officers, uniformed officers against 200-300 people?
What we do is we call in other forces.
Right, and that takes time, and
you'd be surprised how fast they respond.
Which is true, but still, just the general staffing in the downtown area,
So-
not just these parties, but around the theater,
So your question is
around
an
certain
excellent-
restaurants,
Your
right?
question is an excellent question. and
That's
it
all I
comes-
have to say. Thank you.
I'm going to answer your question to the best of my ability.
Okay.
It comes down to dollars and cents
Right.
and budgeting. We are a 4.6 square mile town with 20,000 residents. We serve an area vastly bigger with 10 times the population who come into our town, utilize our services, populate our downtown, eat in our restaurants, shop, play in our parks. We do our best with limited resources. We also have aging infrastructure to deal with. There's, it's a balancing act. We do our best. Could we do better? Are you willing to pay more taxes? Are you willing to forego? Are you willing to have more broken pipes? And our fire department is the best fire department in the state, probably one of the best in the country. It's one of the best places, Birmingham, to have a heart attack because they will be here within 3 minutes. We pay for that. What do you want to give up? We do our best. I'm speaking for the administration now.
I think it's just
and I believe the administration in budgeting, in staffing, is doing their best with limited resources.
I just think it'd be something to have a discussion about, maybe, and I understand, we talk about this, the taxes. We all talk about the taxes and what, the roads, right? That's another big question that everybody's wondering about. But the police is more important. Public safety is more important. The fire department, that's great, that's important. If you guys need more help, that's important, right? And I don't think that should be spared, that's not an open checkbook, but I think that's something to look into. Maybe we increase the budget if these guys need help. We all appreciate the help that they're trying to give, but if they don't have enough help, what good does it do? So, thanks for your time.
Anyone else? Okay, I think I said what I needed to say. We hear you. We are shocked at what happened. We are doing something about it. We thank you. Is there someone online who would like to? Yes, there are. Thank you very much. Narlu Castellano, you have your hand up? I think you have to unmute yourself.
All right. Can you hear me?
We need to turn you up. Hold on.
Okay. It's about a 2-step process to be unmuted.
Oh, just stand by 1 second. We're increasing the volume. Try now.
Okay. What about now?
Excellent. Go on.
Okay. Thank you. It's like a 3-step process to get unmuted, but I'm glad I'm in. All I want to say is that on April 11, that shooting that we all remember happened across the street from my house. So I do feel deja vu and PTSD a little bit looking at all of this and hearing that our police was more afraid of a lawsuit or of something else than actually addressing the issue. And I don't know that as residents we can accept any more excuses. I think at this point it's just a matter of time before something like actually tragic happens, and I don't know that that's what we need. So we don't have issues with our regulations. So my suggestion would be, what I would like the commission to consider is to redirect your efforts of looking at the text of regulation and focus on a deep dive of the status of our police department. We clearly have an enforcement issue. Our police department is excellent when they're able to act, and it seems like things are getting a little bit bigger than they are actually capable of handling, and I don't think we want to wait until something horrendous happens. This is ugly and bad enough, so I just hope that we can redirect our efforts and stop looking at text of regulation and focus on their funding, how many police we have per person in our town. If they were not capable of handling this pool party, I'm very concerned about our safety in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's somebody else.
There's three others. There's what, S?
Sale 9.
Sale 9? Sale 9. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry about the cryptic username. It just happened by accident, starting with my email address. My name is Donna Klein. I live at 930 Larchley. Driving home from dinner and driving to dinner, we saw the immense amount of traffic on Midvale and Westchester and Glenhurst. I was very alarmed to hear what happened. This issue brings up a couple of other situations. One is this homeowner is still listing his property on Swimley. I just checked during the meeting and he hasn't taken it down yet. Another is that if you Google for places where you can rent out your yard short-term, I found at least two others. One is called Peerspace. And there's at least one in Birmingham where you rent out your yard or house for people to have a party or take pictures. There's another place called Sniff Spot where people can pay to bring their dogs and run around. I don't know how many other places are out there like that. But I think that by the city making very strong regulations saying that no, you really don't want you doing things that are make a profit, use your house, your yard to make money and disrupt the peace and parking among your neighbors. That's not okay here, and you will be ticketed to do it. Don't list on these sites. It's not all right. The other thing is that rather than for comments about short-term rentals, I mentioned that this goes exactly hand in hand with short-term rentals, because the issue with the incident on Lincoln was that it was rented by local people for a party, and that is something that the reputable short-term rental owners can control by not allowing 1 and 2 day rentals from local people, because that's going to be somebody that wants a raucous party and doesn't want it in their own house. So that is what I would support, and I'm sure everybody here has seen what happened in Hazel Park. That was another short-term rental for a party. Kids brought guns and one young man was killed. Last comment, WDIB is covering this heavily, and my neighbor saw a Channel 7 truck around the neighborhood. So the city is going to have a great big PR incident on their hands. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Botsford Place Terrace Apartments.
Hello, I am Jax. I live in 440 Westchester Way. On the day of the incident, when I was coming home, I saw nudity and it disgusts me and I can't get out of my head. I couldn't get in my own house because someone was blocking my driveway. I had to wait there and I was scared.
How old are you?
I am 10 years old.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the comment. Cindy Worth, I think? It's hard for me to see.
Yes.
Cindy Worth?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi, thank you. Cindy Worth, I'm Rob Worth's wife, living on 377 South Glenhurst. And as my husband mentioned, luckily our 3 children, ages 5, 6, and 8, were with my parents, thankfully, so they were not at the house. But we still called police because we could not get onto Maple at about 5:30, around 6 o'clock on Saturday evening. And then what we saw on Maple Street and on Westchester was absolutely deplorable. I can't imagine if one of my children saw that. And additionally, I can imagine if there was a health issue, as this has been stated before, or any emergency on that street, there was no way an ambulance or any fire truck could have gotten down that street. So I'm very grateful my children did not witness what we witnessed. But the fact that we called the police and in about a 10-second conversation, all my husband received was that, yes, someone's on the way, and nothing was done. And then later, at around 8:30 p.m., cars were driving almost 60 miles an hour down our street, is unacceptable. And I urge the city to respond to our community with an answer. I am still unclear. Is this a resourcing issue with police, or is it a training issue? Is it related to DE&I training where police are scared and they feel like they need lawyers because they're going to get sued? Because it is unbelievable that police can show up to a home, there's security working a party, and that's okay because they were cooperative. No one could drive down the street. There was obscene, naked, unconscionable things that were witnessed, and yet the police don't feel, perhaps, that they have an ability or that they will be supported to take action when clearly action needed to be taken. So we deserve an answer. Is this the training? Are our police not supported in the ways they need to be? Or is it resourcing? Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Runco?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Got it. Robert Runco, 1556 Lakeside Drive, Birmingham. Been a resident 20 plus years and also sit on the Brownfield board, so most of you know me. Just a suggestion I'd like to maybe add to this conversation is that similar to what happens to clubs and whatnot when a sponsor is having a party, the sponsor has a list of rules and regulations that they must follow. I'm certain our rental agreements probably have some teeth in them, but maybe that can be expanded in deeper, so in cases like this, that the actual homeowner or basically person providing the VRBO service has to adhere to a bunch more rules. Again, I haven't seen any of the rental agreements, but maybe there could just be some teeth expanded to that as well, with, you know, to include financial responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. That's all I got.
Mr. Runco, I think our goal here is to eradicate this, not regulate it.
Oh, I'm in agreement.
Okay, good.
But 100%, but I'm also aware that there's probably some legality issues and things like that. So if this is probably another workaround, right, to advance this game to make sure that, look, if you're gonna have a party and you're gonna host the party, well, guess what? You're gonna agree to all these terms and conditions. And then if you don't, then you have the laws or whatever you want to add to that to make sure, you know, whether it's jail time, et cetera, et cetera. So giving the officers, you know, the opportunity to be able to have that teeth in their rules, I guess.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. There is a hand up next to a numeral 1. There was. It went away. Was there somebody whose username is just 1? No. Okay. Can we scroll up and down just to make sure there's nobody, or do they usually go to the top? They usually go to the top. Okay, if you're online and you'd like to make a comment, use the raise your hand function. If you're in the room and you haven't made a comment already, approach the lectern.
Hi, Adam Laurie, Glenhurst. My concern, and Sale 9 brought up a good point, the speed in which technology is progressing is going to far outpace this committee. So what really needs to be fixed is something that is an ordinance or a rule or a law that keeps in the theme of the town, not necessarily what technology allows a homeowner to do, right? So having somebody show up with 200 people because you can rent a a pool, and the only law that we have to fight back is a tiny microphone over a fence, doesn't keep in the theme the safety of Birmingham.
Look, I want to stop you because that is not the only law, and I hope we made that very clear, that our ordinances already prohibit this sort of thing.
This thing,
Yes.
but not the thing that happens next week and the week after
Well-
that. So we found out that we can rent a backyard for dogs to play in. And now all of a sudden, we're gonna find out in 2 weeks that we can rent a playground and a front porch to sit on and family photos. So my comment is not necessarily to say, hey, let's fix rentals of pools. It's let's fix the general theme of the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, okay.
Hi there, my name is Erin Budisak. I reside with my family at 866 Westchester Way. We've lived there for 12 and a half years. Saturday was an experience, but my comment is actually more of a question, and I just need some procedural understanding. When there is an event at any property in Birmingham that is out of control, and I think collectively we can agree that Saturday was at its base out of control, my understanding is that officers report to the scene, they knock on the door, and they ask to speak to the homeowner. And if the homeowner is not present at the scene of this raucous event, the event is shut down on the spot. I guess my question is, did anyone knock on the door? Did anyone speak to the homeowner? Were they aware that the homeowner was not present at the time? And were they just like cool with that and let it keep going? Because I don't understand, and I need to understand before I can have comment.
So your premise is that somehow the homeowner was required to be there?
Well, I guess my question
I
then
just-
to
I
you,
don't-
Mayor, is if I have teenage kids. If
Right.
my children were to organize a party, even, let's just say they invited a bunch of 21-year-olds to come over and, raise the roof. If the police department were called by my neighbors and they knocked on the door and whomever answered the door, typically the first question is, where's the homeowner?
Correct.
If the answer to that is, I don't know, or not present, doesn't that shut it down right there?
I would say probably not. I would say they would probably want to speak with somebody of authority, right? I mean, I can't speak for the police.
Things
I'm
have
not
changed since my
I'm
high
not
school
a
days,
cop.
I guess.
Well, the situation that you're bringing up is you're referencing juveniles. So,
Well,
yeah,
I'm not referencing juveniles. What I'm saying is, did somebody show up at that house, knock on the door, say, where's the
There was a
homeowner?
rental agreement that was provided that showed that the event host had permission from the owner to be there during that time. So.
Can I
And so they
interrupt
spoke
really
to-
quick? Because
so-
I actually talked to Officer Linky in my yard.
You have to come to the
Here,
microphone.
come share.
And-
Let's hang out.
Are you willing to cede the floor?
Yes.
Oh, I will cede the floor.
Okay, I'm Jenny Sullivan. I live directly behind and share a fence and have for 3 years. And Lieutenant Linky showed up to my yard, or I might be saying it wrong, excuse me. And he looked me in the face and told me that he had spoken to the individual, Alex, who lives there, who I've spoken to several times and is not cooperated once. I've very nicely gone to his house for 3 years and asked him, so we did start calling the cops for the past several summers, and they have done nothing. They show up probably 40 feet from the fence, come show me, oh, it's at 68. Once again, to what he's saying, something has to be changed. Coming to my fence 40 feet from the house, well, no, 40 feet from like even the fence, standing in the middle of my yard and saying, 68, it was at 70 at 5:30. I have my Ring camera. I checked to see what time he came. It was at 70. Not only that, there were probably 200 people at that point. He looked me in the face and said he spoke to Alex, who was very cooperative along with the security guards. Are you really going to be uncooperative to a police officer at your door when you're throwing a 200-person party? And I looked at him and said, if I had this in my yard right now, you would have shut this down hours ago. What is the issue? There are so many illegal things going on, and he kept looking at me and saying, they are not breaking any laws. And the only thing he kept referencing was the microphone over the fence. So once again, back, what was done? Nothing. You didn't talk to the homeowner. And what if it was teenagers? Who cares? So these were all teens. They were not teens. They were probably in their 20s and 30s. So then officer looked at me and literally told me he spoke to Alex. Is that documented? Because he apparently
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Lieutenant Linky and Lieutenant Buttigieg both spoke with Alex over the phone.
Over the phone?
Both spoke with.
Because he's gonna control this from
Okay,
another
let
state?
him answer the question,
Okay.
okay? I understand you're angry. You have every right to be angry.
Well, because they come to my house all the time and they do nothing.
Okay.
The police officers.
Look, this is the first time I've ever heard of this.
Okay.
I've been on the city commission for 6 years. And look, you should be able to call the police and get a response, and you should be satisfied.
Okay.
But the cops have a boss. He's Chief of Police Scott Gruey. Scott Gruey, the Chief of Police, has a boss. That's Jana Ecker, the city manager.
Okay.
And guess what? She has a boss, and that's the city commission.
No, it's the people.
And then, well, then you guys come after, and you're our bosses, okay? And we represent you, and you elect us. That's the hierarchy. I'm just saying, it's, you know,
Okay, well, I'm just saying,
if I don't get anywhere, if I'm in a store or a restaurant or anywhere, calling on, customer service help, I want to talk to a supervisor. I want to talk to the person. If I'm not getting, and I'm not blaming you, please
Well, that's
don't
why they
take
sent
that.
him out.
But, well, I don't know
The
what
lieutenant.
to say. I don't know what to say.
Specifically, they called me back and
Nobody
sent
sitting
him
at
out.
this table is happy, okay? We all have a little bit of what you got tonight, okay? Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to speak? I don't hear what you're saying, and if you'd like to come up again.
Hi folks, I'm Ed Swain. I've been here, living here in Birmingham, 5 houses north of the pool party. Been here for 33 years. Never seen anything like this. Now, I mean, my kids are grown. They don't live in Birmingham anymore. I was just out cutting the grass, no big deal. And, the people are going up and down the driveway, up and down the sidewalks. It was clear they're very kind of provocative kind of people. They weren't here passing up with people brochures, okay? And, I'm just cutting the grass. And some boys are chirping at me, and I kind of knew that if I did this, I'd probably get something. But I said, I want to cut the grass. Maybe not the best thing for a Saturday night, but I wanted to get it done. And I thought to myself, I didn't take the bait and chirp back. I didn't do any of that kind of stuff. But I thought to myself, what if I did? What if I just to defend? My wife couldn't even come out of the house and go on her usual walk at that time. But here we are, kind of prisoners. I didn't want to be a prisoner, so I'm going to cut the bloody grass. So I did. And, these boys are chirping. It wasn't a big deal. But I thought to myself, and especially as I'm sitting right here, despite all the problems that happened, boy, we were fortunate that nothing more serious didn't happen. We're so fortunate. What if there was a fire? What if someone had a heart attack? You couldn't get an ambulance in and out to save your life. It would be impossible. So the point isn't me cutting the grass. The point is a fight avoided. The point is that this could have been so much worse. And as bad as it was, we were really fortunate. So to me, this is the wake-up call, because there ain't going to be a next time. We're not going to be so fortunate next time. So the time to fix it is now. There's no more second chances. It's done.
Thank you. Vanessa on Zoom. Moses.
Hi, everyone. I would be at the meeting tonight, but I'm out of state. Just flew out, but I was there witnessing this. I'm at 173 Westchester Way. Obviously, I'm echoing the things that I experienced are exact same things that all the others neighbors have experienced. The lewdness, alcohol, all types of things that were unimaginable, as we are all expressing here. I do also think, I've researched, I'm not sure if this was brought up because I did join late, I'm on the West Coast, but the owner, it looks like he's an alternative hearing officer for the city of Birmingham.
We got that covered.
You did discuss that, okay. I was hoping that was brought up. I'm sorry if I'm late to the party here, but is this position of his, where are we bottom lining here? What is going to be done? Because I feel in the room that we, the citizens, are being punished for this. And I'm very, and I've expressed to a family member of mine who's in the auxiliary police, I'm very disappointed the way the police handled this. I think that they showcased to thousands, to hundreds of people that came to our neighborhood that they can come back and do something worse or take advantage. I'm sorry to hear from Jenny, who's a neighbor and a friend of many years, that I did not know she was going through this with that neighbor. Where are we bottom lining? What are the next steps? Because this just cannot go on in this neighborhood. It just cannot go on. And we are the people, we do have a voice, we are the vote at the end of the day, and we will make changes if we have to make changes, but we're really hoping that you guys that are sitting in front of us right now, and respectfully, Mr. Mayor, that are there, that somebody's gonna help make this right and help us understand how are we proceeding from here with this individual who, from now, to my knowledge, I've only lived on the street for 2.5 years, but seems to be a consistent nuisance in many different aspects. So where are we ending up right now as it stands? What are the next actionable steps?
Okay, we've gone over all that, and you are unfortunately a little bit late to the party. I think I want to look around and make sure everybody agrees that we've kind of gone over all that stuff. And I'd rather not repeat it for you individually right now. But there's plenty of action that's going to be taken, and you can watch a replay of the video in the morning.
Hi,
ma'am.
Agatha Serta, 347 South Glenhurst. So I think with this gentleman, and I don't know this to be fact, so like with the question is baselining, what are you gonna do? My understanding is he lets minors home alone at his house continuously, and he's not there overseeing them. So I don't know from a city perspective how, like, can a parent just leave their minors at home to their own will and doing whatever they want? Because that's the understanding here, is he doesn't actually live there. And he might go pop in and out, and the minors are living there full-time by themselves. One goes to Groves. So we have to understand how a parent can leave his kids unattended to raise hell effectively in a neighborhood unilaterally without the parent's oversight. And if the parent is overseeing, what are we doing to the permits, the tickets, all that, but it has to be so punitive to where he actually changes his perspective and changes the way he operates. Because outside of that, he's going to continue doing what he's doing, and he's just going to collect tickets and not pay them, and they're going to lean the house, and then everyone else is still going to be upset. Because literally, we have so many issues in Birmingham of just these one-off randoms. So, we have to understand what he's doing to where you can technically say, you cannot do this, you have to be home, your kids are minors, all the things. And I think that's where this gentleman is just not being a good steward and definitely not being a good neighbor, right? So I think that's one point that hasn't been brought up. It's literally minors running in a house, that's $1 million.
Thank you. Thank you. Lee Sweetmeyer? Is that?
Yes.
Seeing at an
Yep.
extreme angle.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Lee Sweetmeyer, I live on Suffield. I've been here 20 years. This, just a quick comment. It is very important that we get this under control in general, because this is going to cause property values to decrease. People are going to move out. The property tax base is going to be lowered. We'll have reduced revenue. This is not, if we don't have control, this will have a big effect, to the point of, I can't remember which individual mentioned this is, on the news. That's how we found about the committee meeting today. So you guys got to do something quick about this.
Okay, thank you. Number 1 again, but then you went away.
I think it's the number of comments about
That was her.
I have one more question.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else who has not already made a comment? Anyone in the room who wants to speak who has not already spoken? Okay, and if you're up and you want to talk again, please.
It's just a clarifying question
Okay.
to the point about the rental agreement. that you mentioned you were provided with, is there a permitting process in the municipality? If any resident were to have an event of this nature and secured a rental agreement, whatever that entails, we have to get a permit to have a block party.
It was
So-
illegal. It was illegal on
It wasn't
several
illegal
levels.
enough to shut down for 6 hours.
I apologize. I'm just as shocked at this, and we all are,
Okay.
as you are.
So and that's okay if we're learning in real time.
Well, it's not really,
but-
but, you know, it's the way it.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody. 314 largely, I share a fence with the guy. I've been dealing with this for 3 years, so next time I call, help us out.
You have our email.
My email address. I appreciate everybody. I really do, and I'm overwhelmed by the community because I thought Jeff and I were doing something. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, guys.
I need to close, there's sales 9, or sale 9. Your hand is up. I don't know if you want to speak again. If you do, I'll give you 15 seconds.
Okay, 15 seconds. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Donna Klein, 930 Large Street. I've heard 2 people say now that he does not actually live at that house. Public record says that he claims a homeowner's exemption for the lower property taxes. And his address, he shows at a different house in Southfield. I hope the city will investigate this and charge him the higher tax rate for non-resident. So that's all. Thank you. Bye.
Good. Thank you for that. Well, I know I learned a lot tonight. Information I did not have. I did not witness this firsthand. I saw a few emails. I saw the videos. We all did. I think we're all gratified to have heard from y'all, and we're here to represent you, and that's what we will do. So with that, I will close the public comment and move on. Now, would you like to make a motion?
Point of order.
Just
I'd
a
like
motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we reverse the order tonight. We do B as A because it's short-term rentals, and we do A, which is zoning ordinance update, as B.
Second.
This is a commission vote, I gather, right? Do we have an attorney present?
We do.
There's you. Huh?
Typically, there's no action taken on these
To change the agenda?
meetings.
We're not taking, no, that's not the
You can do
point.
it by consensus, but not quite a vote.
Does the commission, is it the pleasure of the commission to alter the agenda?
Yes. Sure.
Okay. We're going to take up item B, short-term rentals. And I believe that we have a presentation from our planning director. Do we? This is our planning director, Nicholas Dupuy. And sitting next to me is our chairman of the planning board, Scott Klein, and around us are other members. But go ahead.
Thanks, everyone. So we've got a bit of a dual approach here. I'll introduce it, and Chair Klein will wrap it up for me. I wanted to first sort of summarize for you what we've been doing for the last 2 meetings. This has hit us twice, May 13th and June 10th. What we've been working on very specifically, and for, I think, a very valid reason, is doing our research portion of this and starting to develop what we're considering as our findings, which we will ultimately use to make our recommendations to the City Commission for said ordinance amendments. So what you haven't seen, perhaps, at least in the last meeting, is the actual language, and that's why. What we're doing is, again, just spending a lot of time on developing our findings so that we can be on very stable ground. In the report, which I trust you all read, I don't want to really review that, but I did call out some summaries of the specific issues that we have been kind of collecting and categorizing. I also wanted to point out some data that I'm not sure that we've given directly to the commission yet, although we just did that for June 10th. about the number of rentals in the city, certified rentals in the city, I should say. And then lastly, I wanted to call your attention that if you haven't gotten a chance to click through the links that I provided at the end, I thought they were fairly well received at the planning board, and I think it's some good context. Because what we're working in here is kind of an environment of rentals. Of course, we're working on a zoning project here, but there's a broader environment that we need to concern ourselves with, so that when we pull this one zoning thread, we don't unwind another thread elsewhere, or so that we can at least be consistent across our regulatory frameworks. So Scott, if I can kick it to you.
Sure. Real quickly, I know some of you are familiar. You've been to one or two of our meetings. Just so you understand the role the planning board plays, we are an advisory committee appointed by the city commission. We have been designated by the commission as the planning arm, the land planning arm of the city. So legally, we have a responsibility to determine on our own the findings of fact related to any of the ordinance amendments that are being proposed. Now, all of the information that you have provided at city commission meetings and our meetings, I think it's fair to say that we have made some very quick, easy determinations. So I don't want you to be concerned by that. But as we talk about this, there is a legal process we must follow that doesn't move as quickly as you may want it to. And that's not because we're stalling, it's because we have to follow the law or the ordinance gets thrown out. So with that, I'd like to thank the commission for your help in defining the problem and for providing this information. I know in years past we have often asked commissions to do just that and not always gotten the same sort of vigorous response. So we really appreciate that. It has been very helpful. Some of the answers to the questions you raised last week on Monday were very clear, and we are proceeding appropriately. We're going to continue to work with the city attorney on language to make sure that we're within the law. But there are a few of those topics that we felt needed a little bit more discussion here tonight. That includes perhaps a little bit of pushback on a couple of items as well. So please just understand where we're coming from. We want to talk this out in this environment and get to the point where we know exactly where we want to take this. Just to give you a quick update, we are likely going to be recommending bringing several items that are actually in the city code related to zoning, occupancy and such, and put them in the zoning ordinance with all of the other items related to zoning to make sure that it's all in one spot and it's very clear what the rules and intention would be. These things deal with like parking, if you're renting your home, how much parking are you required to have? How many people can you have in the house? Things of that nature. So don't be surprised if you see some of that in any language that you receive in the near future. We're also going to add a number of definitions to the ordinance, most likely. More definitions than perhaps you asked for, and that's because we believe that they're important. We're likely going to, and I say likely because we're a body that votes and we have to work on this together to finalize. But we are likely going to define short-term rentals, as you have already discussed. We are likely going to define midterm rentals and long-term rentals. Now, the reason for doing the midterm rentals, and this is, I know you said at your last meeting that's not something you're necessarily worried about. We'd rather define it and give you the ability in the future to license it or regulate it any way you see fit than having to come back to us for a definition in a year and a half. So, just, that was not meant as, it's not meant as disrespect toward your wishes. We just want to make sure we're giving you all the information you have. Again, we're working with the city, we're going to work with the city attorney on our legal ability to restrict short-term rentals in commercial and mixed-use areas. There's some question as to what we actually can do. It's relatively straightforward in residential areas where commercial uses are not allowed. But in commercial areas and mixed-use areas, that's precisely the point. We do want to have a discussion on that tonight because I do believe that there are a member or two of the board that are questioning, even if we can restrict short-term rentals in, say, the downtown, should we? Those areas, downtown, Triangle District, the Rail District, were governed before our latest master plan update by 3 independent master plans themselves that did call out for very different diversity of uses and types and interactions far different than the R zones. So I think tonight, one of the first thing we'd like to do, and I'm going to throw it to perhaps a board member, if that's okay, Mayor Ballard.
Sure.
To further that point, we'd like to discuss that and just make sure we understand if the commission is intending to have us try as much as we can in the law to restrict rentals in these mixed use or commercial districts, specifically downtown, the rail district, and the triangle district. Mr. Boyle, I know you have an opinion on this. Are you interested in perhaps providing any additional input?
Sure. This came out from a variety of pieces of information that the staff provided. We were given a lot of reading, much of which was extremely useful in understanding the impact of this part of our economy, short-term rentals. Then we asked for a simple question: where are the rentals? 22% of our housing stock is rented. That's a fifth of our housing stock. So we asked where we asked for the mapping of it. And it's pretty clear. There are about 6 areas where they cluster, they come together. 4 of these are clearly residential. They themselves are adjacent, if not part of, R1 to R3 or 4. And anything that we've talked about as a board, as a commission, by the public, would seek to have no commercial activity in these areas. So we're not talking about the residential areas. But that leaves another 3 areas, of which even the chair and I disagree over, and that's part of our debate. The 2 that really come out as clearly demonstrating a cluster of rental activity that is zoned mixed use are the rail district, where we are today, and if you just walk around this area, you would see, if you haven't done it recently, that there's a lot of different activity, of which a range of commercial activities is at the very core of what the plan for the rail district called out for, and what we have achieved in some parts of this area. And then I would argue, although again we could disagree with it, that the Triangle District, which is a later plan, 2008 if I recall, similarly called out for that diversity. And I'm making the case, and it's a case that I think is valid because of what other cities and other places have done, is that a regulation of short-term rentals doesn't need to apply across the board for every single part of the city. There are perhaps opportunities in these 2 areas. That's my position, and I think we should at least explore it, discuss it, and see where it takes us.
I'll turn it back to you for
So
comments.
I have 2 comments about that. One is the practicality. What are the what is likely to be rented short term in the commercial districts? You have rental properties, and you have condos.
Mhm.
And I gotta believe that the condos govern, those associations govern what happens, and I gotta believe that the owners of the rental units likewise govern through their lease agreements. And whether any of those parties are going to consent to short-term rentals is a big question in my mind. The other is, we are, I'll get to you in a minute. We're doing this because the residents don't want short-term rentals in their neighborhoods, right?
Right.
What did the residents of the mixed-use neighborhoods want? And it might be a little harder to meet out what they want. We may need to do some research and talk to them and find out. Are they embracing short-term rentals, or are they just as adamant against them as the residents of our single-family neighborhoods? So I really can't. I personally couldn't opine on what we should do in the mixed use without having a better grasp of the answers to those two questions. Commissioner Hay.
So you talked about governance of say, condo associations or what have you. Unfortunately, that leaves a loophole, and it's short-term rental arbitration. There's someone I know who literally just moved out of Birmingham, did exactly that. She would set up an LLC, give it a $100 liability, sign a long-term rental agreement for a property, and then proceed to STR it. But it was rented to her LLC. What she did as a sublease was what she did not necessarily always with the owner's knowledge. So that is the get out of jail that the one gentleman that said about technology outpacing rules, that would avoid that particular issue because it's leased long term to one person or entity. So be careful about assuming, because I can tell you she's proved that wrong. And there is an entire industry.
And you're saying she's somehow not violating, her condo association may not have a rule.
It may not necessarily be part of that.
What do the condo associations say? And if they say
I'm just
they
not-
try to govern it, then we
I'm not
should-
trying to get into the weeds. I'm trying to point out to you that there is a get out that is being exercised across the country.
Sure.
There are entire lectures, classes being paid for by people on how to do exactly this trick so you can bypass these rules because now you're subleasing. And the get out is, here's my lease as a long-term renter. What I do is my business. So be very careful with some assumptions because they've already been disproved. That's all I wanted to caution on.
Thank you. Commissioner, Mayor, temporary Mayor Pro Tem Long.
Thank you. I wanted to just point out that, before I go into my comments, that while we list 22% of the housing units in Birmingham as certified rentals, Nick's report does clarify, but wasn't stated out loud yet tonight, that nearly 1,200 of those are apartments. So there's not 22% of our housing stock as single-family homes or duplexes that are rented out. It includes all of the normal apartment buildings in that 22%. So roughly half of those are apartments, which we would expect to be rented. I have concerns about not regulating STRs in the Triangle District, especially because there are multiple residential streets there, and we heard from those people on several occasions when they were looking at developing for Lavery or for Todd's Room. They are very concerned about maintaining the residential integrity of their streets. So I don't think not regulating STRs in the Triangle District as a whole is an appropriate stance. Additionally, I am concerned about targeting the areas that we don't regulate. The excellent articles that Mr. Tweed shared, well, many of the case studies were in European countries, but they all uniformly showed that as the availability of STRs increased, the availability of long-term rentals decreased, and that the price of housing went up. And so I think that not regulating STRs, especially if we tried to jam everybody who wants to invest in that into two areas in town, or two of our rail district and triangle district, would destabilize those areas even more. I mean, our goal, I'm not against long-term rentals. Long-term rentals are an important mechanism for families to move in to Birmingham who may not be able to own, but who want to live here, and part of the fabric, and put their children in the school system, and be neighbors, to live here full-time, and live here year-round. And they often are long-term renters for years. And I do not want to force out long-term rentals in favor of short-term rentals, and to further escalate the cost of housing stock when you're getting private equity investing in it as a business. So I have great concerns about not regulating STRs across the city.
Before anyone, and commission or planning board, but I think you want to hear from commissioners, right? So Commissioner Kozlowski.
So we, I believe, heard that there is some question as to whether or not we even can regulate short-term rentals in an area which is already designated as where commercial use is acceptable. That the ruling by the Supreme Court was that it is a commercial use. We have areas where we allow at least certain commercial uses, right? Maybe we can't regulate it. My question is, if we put in language that restricts the ability for short-term rentals to exist in a mixed-use or commercial area, and then someone challenges it and wins, does all of our regulation get thrown out and we have to start from square one? Or do we just sort of strike out the lines about the commercial or mixed-use areas and we still get whatever restrictions in the residential areas?
I would say.
Fire away.
Sure.
I get to move in now. Okay, so, I'm good, thank you. My response to that would be, no. The way that the zoning ordinance is laid out is by zoning districts. So each district, you look to that to see what's permitted, what's the permitted land use in that district. So I think that if it's struck in one, then it would apply to that one.
No, so if we apply a restriction to the Triangle District or something, and someone challenges it, all they are challenging is that use within the Triangle District, and the risk we run by putting in that restriction is that it will be overturned in court and we will no longer be able to enforce the restriction?
Yes.
Okay.
Short answer.
So
Thank you.
as we rewrite the zoning ordinance, I want to know if what I'm about to describe is even a thing. You've got mixed-use district, but within those districts you have residential, office, and retail.
Right.
And what is retail will never be residential, pretty much, right? Unless it's one of these live-work units.
It can be.
Can be.
It can be.
Well, okay, let me go on with my premise, okay, and then you guys can beat up on me. Offices are unlikely to be turned into retail or residential, and residential is pretty much residential. Can you have subzones within these zones, in other words? Can you have, this is not just a use, a residential use within a mixed-use district, but this is a residential subzone within a mixed-use district. Therefore, it's residential, and we treat it the way we treat the residential districts elsewhere.
So the city attorney can jump on me if she thinks I'm going the wrong direction. But the way zoning ordinances generally work is that there are districts of parcels of land that are put into one district and only one district based on the uses that are allowed or envisioned to appropriately, in the future, to appropriately fit within the context of the other parcels in that
So it's the land, not the building, so that just
Correct.
answers the question.
Now, having
Okay.
said that, I think the other argument that could be made, and perhaps the one I made at the last planning board meeting when discussing with Mr. Boyle, is that we're really talking about uses. You know, the zoning districts are really buckets used to sort and organize. But whenever we're talking about the implications of zoning, we're talking about the use and the intensity thereof. And then everybody yells about traffic and parking and all the rest, right? That are a result. So when you look at a mixed-use building in our community, yes, the ground floor traditionally has to be retail, okay? But it doesn't always have to have office. Office can be, though it's expensive, converted to residential. But we never see those uses mixed on a floor. They're already segregated within the development, within the site. So I think I could argue, and I don't know how far I would get, but I could argue that we are already regulating residential uses differently from commercial uses in a mixed-use district because we're not allowing them to commingle. They're always separated by a floor, at least one floor. So to me, I could look at the residential portions of these buildings and say, well, those multifamily buildings, the residential uses are really a small micro neighborhood. So in that sense, why wouldn't I regulate it the same way I do my street, your street, or any other street? But I think that's part of the reason why we want to work with the city attorney, to make sure we understand where that line legally might be, so that we don't overstep it.
Okay, so I'm gonna call on you in a moment and say that what I'm looking for, and I don't know if the other commissioners agree, I'm looking for the argument here, the pros and the cons about regulating STRs in the mixed-use districts, right? So you made a bunch of points. Commissioner Long made some points. I want to hear more. And then I think we could move probably pretty quickly to giving you, I mean, I'm already there, and I think a few others are already there, but, sorry.
So, the complexity of Scott Klein's seemingly universal point is that I don't agree with him. And in one respect, in the rail district, and a part of our creative zoning was in certain parts of the rail district where there is residential above commercial on the main level. They are single units, owner-occupied businesses with residential above. So you can't distinguish in that unit between a commercial and a residential. It's one unit. So that's a complexity that the city attorney is going to have to figure out.
You're talking about
if
the
we go
live
that
work,
route.
the live work.
Live work?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I mean,
Of course.
and we
That would
prescribe,
be
although we don't enforce the commercial usage on the main level, even though they're supposed to be commercial. Classic example is the senior living facility on Maple, where it's supposed to be first floor commercial, and I have yet to see any commercial on any of the first floor sites. So, it's not an easy question to answer in the blending of commercial and residential.
Well, it would be easy if you just said, we're not interested in short-term rentals, period.
Except then you run into Supreme Court issues.
Well, I
Restrictions
don't
on
know,
commercial.
you're looking for our, then you need to add more nuance to your question to us.
We heard you when you first told us we're not interested in short-term rentals, period. And I think some of us even came into our meetings thinking, how do we get rid of short-term rentals?
Right.
But then the more research we did and the more we read and the more we uncovered and all the sort of things that make these sort of things hard to come by, caused us to realize that actually in some cases caused me, I shouldn't speak for everyone, caused me to realize that in certain situations, in certain zoning classifications, short-term rentals might actually be very advantageous to the city, particularly in commercial areas. And so I hope you will allow us to explore it a little bit further before we all agree that in single-family residential neighborhood, R1 through R8, transitional zoning areas, those sort of places, it's not appropriate to rent a house for a weekend.
So-
But when you're looking at, like you described, where there are condo associations and things like that, we're in commercial districts, in B-zoned areas and O-zoned areas, business office, there might be an opportunity and it might be a benefit to the city, and maybe we just don't know for sure yet, but we'd like to explore it. When people come into the city, we want tourists, we want people to come and use our downtown and go to the movies and eat out and hang out in Shane Park and listen to concerts and go to the farmers market. When they come into town and they rent places for a weekend and they get to go experience those things and spend money in our town in those ways, that benefits us all. And when they're in a commercial district renting a space for a weekend, let's say, I'd like to believe that they are walking within the commercial district that they're near to and renting. Let's assume it's downtown, just for the sake of what I'm talking. They're walking into the downtown, they're spending money in the downtown, they're going to the farmer's market, they're doing all of these things, and they're doing the right things, and the things probably many of us do when we go to other people's towns and spend a weekend in their downtown. So I hope you'll let us not just blanket decide that the city can't have short-term rentals anywhere, and let us explore it a little bit more, because in my research anyway, I think there actually are some advantages to allowing it in certain areas. Not sure we know exactly where yet, but we have a little work to do. But I do believe there are advantages to the city in allowing it in some places.
Commissioner Cole.
Yeah, so two things on one of your comments. I don't think we should abdicate our responsibility to a condo association or some other association and rely on them to police what is our responsibility. And I think creating an area where short-term rentals are okay just makes it more difficult to enforce anything and risky. And at the end of the day, short-term rentals aren't the fabric of our community. They're not. I haven't heard one, maybe two comments in all the meetings of people positive about short-term rentals. And it doesn't help the safety of our community. It doesn't help the fabric of our community. It doesn't help the families. So I think we flat out shut it down.
We do have three hotels, right? 3 hotels within the city limits. A 4th, I believe, is going to be proposed for the Hunter House site. And
Somerset is a stone throw away.
There are hotels in Troy, in Bloomfield. Anyway, more argument, one way or the other. Commissioner Host?
I think we can all agree that we're not interested in having any short-term rentals in our residential zoned areas. And the mayor pointed out the hierarchy, which Nick Dupree, takes care of the planning board. Jana also helps the planning board. But if you look at the chart, you guys are responsible to the city commission, not to anybody else. You're responsible to us because we vote you in. And to conclude this, we are elected by the people, the commission, and we are supposed to represent them. And if I can piggyback on Commissioner Kolb's comment, I think we ought to make your duties a lot easier. I think everybody here agrees that in all the residential zoning areas of Birmingham, we don't want short-term rentals. So I am making a motion to eliminate short-term rentals.
I'm sorry, we can't take action at this meeting.
And why not?
Because because I believe, is that correct? Am I correct? That
You wouldn't recommend it,
is this a
of course.
workshop or?
No, this is not a workshop.
It's a joint meeting, and I think if the city attorney wants to address this, but at least our practice has been that we don't take any official action, we have discussions.
I think we can get the sense of the commission. We're all here, okay? And I don't think you have to take a vote on that one. I think that one is pretty clear, and we've made it clear in terms of, of short-term rentals in residential zones. We've made that clear, and they're very clear on that. They don't need another vote from us tonight on that. Their question is about the mixed-use districts.
Right, and I hope that we will continue to talk about that. However, it's
Well, let's talk about
imperative.
that. That's what we're talking
No,
about.
it's imperative that we take a stand on residential areas. Let's take that off the table by eliminating.
We have. Commissioner Host, we have. That is.
We have
that
not
is
taken
what-
a formal action, and it's not recommended to make a motion, but I am going to make the motion. Whether it's seconded or not and voted on is a different matter. I make the motion to eliminate STRs under 30 days in all residential zoning areas, effective immediately, with the one exception of owner-occupied while operating the short-term rental.
Is that a second?
No.
Oh, well, let's let him make the motion. And then we can, if it's seconded, we can comment on it and go from there.
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Kolb seconded. Okay, comment on the motion.
I think that it is an inappropriate and ill-conceived motion because it is corrupting the process that we are supposed to follow under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, which is to assign this activity to our duly designated planning board, allow them to determine their findings of fact, and make recommendations to us. That is the way this is supposed to work. We are not supposed to prescribe the solution to them in advance. We are supposed to give them guidance, which we have. We are all have had consensus that we do not believe that there should be short-term rentals in residential districts. They've already said that they've heard that. So this motion is counterproductive and frankly kind of grandstanding.
Commissioner Hay. I should have asked Commissioner Kolb. Following Robert's rules strictly, the seconder, well, he's allowed to comment first on the motion, and then the seconder. But I'm sorry, I generally don't
We have
follow
had
that.
60 days. We had April 13th, we had a meeting 2 days after the 35 bullet casings. We could have shut down in the residential areas, but because of what temporary Mayor Pro Tem Long has said, we have gone with a 180-day moratorium. We've had 60 days, and we've already had a problem. We should stop it tonight.
Okay, your motion didn't say to stop it tonight, did it? Could you read
I
the
said
motion, please?
effective immediately.
Could you read the motion?
To eliminate short-term rentals in residential zoned areas immediately.
Oh, okay. I don't know that we can do that. We've already been told that we can't do that. Anyway, we have a motion and a second. Did you have your hand up?
I did, but I was going to let Commissioner Kolb speak
Sure.
because following the rules.
I don't
and
need to
then
be redundant.
Okay.
Well, in terms of...
Mr. Host has said it quite eloquently.
All right, so points that actually came to earlier discussion, but I just want to re-emphasize them. For instance, Mayor Pro Tem Long talked about long-term rentals are not part of this. I want to re-emphasize long-term rentals are not part of this discussion, are not part of the equation, are not part of anything to do with this. And so anyone that is a long-term renter or owns a long-term rental, do not get disturbed by this. So I wanted to make that clear to begin with. Now, I've heard various things about short-term rentals in residential that have been said quietly, loudly. In R1 through 8, I did not find the word commercial in any of the wording in any of them. So I believe that the existing zoning actually tells us what we are allowed to do and not allowed to do. And so I leave it to the planning board to come back to us, but I get the distinct impression that the lack of the word commercial in there already somewhat tells us what residential, R1 through 8, already says, which somewhat supports where Commissioner Host is going with immediately, because then everybody's acting under non-zonable ordinances. Now, the conversation about commercial or mixed-use areas, this is where it gets interesting for me. Who said short-term rental had to be defined as residential? Did anybody say that? Because I didn't. What is a pop-up restaurant? What is a WeWork? What is renting a mechanic's bay? All of these are permitted activities, theoretically, that are normal activities under short-term rental activity in commercial zones. If we're going to ban one, ban them all, for the simple reason that that's the one point of Commissioner Host's motion that I disagree with, where he says with an exception. I'm sorry, as soon as we create an exception to a rule, then it becomes the same as tax law, full of loopholes to be exploited. Ban everything, And to quote Mr. Boyle from a previous meeting a long time back, be bold. It's time to be bold. And I quoted Ian Fleming more than once. So, yeah, I'll say it. Mr. Boyle knows where this is going without me even saying it. But we've had 3 instances of short-term rentals in the metropolitan Detroit area that have involved violence through to death. That was enemy action under Ian Fleming's rules. We've had 2 instances inside Birmingham, if we include the issues on Saturday night, which was a rental of a property, be it however we look at it. We've had 2 instances in Birmingham. One resident said, "Do you want to wait until something really bad happens with the 3rd one?" I'm not interested. I just don't want exceptions, I don't want carve-outs, I don't want to see anything like this. This is destroying the city. We do not look good, we are not doing the best for our residents right now. I think we can do better. So I actually really agree with Mr. Boyle's statement and something else, and I'm sorry if I kind of stole it from you, but I think it's time to be bold.
Okay, Commissioner Haig, I'm not sure, we have a motion on the floor. I have a question about the motion, by the way. I believe this identical motion was made and failed at a previous meeting. Is there anything to prevent him from bringing it up again? I mean, we allowed him to do it, but from a...
No, but
okay.
this is
All right.
not the typical forum.
We get that, and we will hear from you momentarily, okay? So I'm not clear on, there is this motion, I'm not clear whether you were speaking in favor of the motion or against the motion, or
I
what,
think it's time to do basically what he said, except I don't agree with the carve-out. I think it should be a complete. And I'm sorry to Mr. Ogleton, but you are one of 22,000 people. You're the only one that came. I can't make an exception for one
I'm here
person.
too. We haven't,
Sorry.
there are people
All right.
here who have not spoken yet.
All right, but that's what I've heard
You're
so
speaking
far.
against,
All right.
you're speaking against the motion, is that?
Why don't you amend it?
I'm for it, except it's got one thing I don't like.
Amend it.
All right, look,
I
this
can't.
is this is really turning. This is supposed to be a workshop with the planning board to assist them in doing what they need to do, okay? And we have already assigned them to do this, and this is an attempt to short circuit that. So I am going to ask to keep comments to a minimum right now. I would like to deal with this motion and get back to the business that we're here to do, okay? So please, I can't tell you not to comment. You've already commented once, but I want to hear from the city attorney.
Thank you. So let's take this out of the context of the joint meeting right now. If we were in the commission and had a regular meeting without the joint meeting, this is not a permissible motion, even because you've already made action on this issue to create the moratorium, and that is already going. You would then have to rescind the moratorium, rescind your motion to, and the resolution to go into the moratorium, and that would all need to be noticed to the public, to give them an opportunity to come and speak. So pursuant to OMA, you can't move forward with any action. So not even getting into the joint meeting issue that you have, you cannot move forward on that motion.
Wow. Okay. Well, what, as the, probably the parliamentarian here, what would one do in that case? If you're the parliamentarian and you're saying that even though the motion was allowed, it was seconded, and we're in the midst of discussing it, you're telling us you can't do that.
You can't do that. So at the next commission meeting, if that is something that you're interested in doing, then you would have to try to have it on a future commission agenda that you would have to discuss and see if there is a majority. And I even think I'd have to look into it, but it may have to be a super majority to rescind a prior resolution.
Okay, so what do you suggest we do right now?
I think that the motion should be withdrawn.
And if they don't withdraw it, then
It cannot be moved forward.
Alex has a,
Like the instance that we had at the beginning of the meeting, this meeting and our workshop meetings, it's always about consensus, it's not action. It's not appropriate to be doing the motions of firm direction at this meeting. This is always a consensus direction meeting. It's what it's intended to do. It's what the public is used to. That is the routine that we have that we should be following and preserving.
okay. Would you guys be willing, having heard from the attorney, the clerk, would you be willing to withdraw your second and the motion and
If we can't do it anyway, there's no-
consent to that by doing that?
If we legally can't do it anyway, I'm not knowingly gonna break the law.
Okay, so could you please?
I'll rescind the second.
Yeah, and I'm happy to withdraw the motion.
Okay,
And
let's
I,
move
wait a
on.
minute, and I am not trying to assail the workshop aspect of being with the planning board here. I'm only trying to eliminate the residential zoning, which we apparently might all agree on.
Okay, we may, and there's a process. And I understand that you and others may be impatient with the process, but that's the way it is. Welcome to government. Now, do you,
It's relevant.
okay, please, quickly,
So
because I'd like to get these guys.
I'd like a point of clarification on the attorney's direction, that we can't make a motion like that because there was an existing moratorium. So was it the wording of the motion that said immediately, but if the motion were to be made at a future city commission meeting with the wording at the end of the moratorium instead of immediately, because the way you phrased it sounds like we can't ever make a motion ever again, we're done.
No, that's not true.
Well, that's how I
At the-
understood it. That's
at
why
the
I'm asking
ex-
for clarification.
At the expiry of the moratorium, the commission has the option to continue the moratorium or proceed forward with a different direction.
Hence my request of, could the motion be made? Let's say we make it next week. Make something up. We say next week, we've made the decision at the end of the moratorium, we wish to no longer have short. Then that
No,
is legitimate, or do we have to wait until the expiration date?
You would have to wait for it to expire.
Okay. All right. That's the clarification I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
Clear direction.
Can we order breakfast?
All right, hold on. Your question is about mixed-use district.
Right.
And
And commercial within,
I,
how do we deal with the?
I
the
have,
city
I
attorney?
have heard nothing that compels me personally to support short-term rentals in mixed-use districts. And I wonder, I don't know what a shake of the head means. No? You agree with me?
I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay.
I have another guy agreeing with me.
You got four.
I have another one agreeing with me.
Can I make a short comment about it?
Sure.
So I sympathize a lot with what Ms. Whippleboyce said about the potential benefits of short-term rentals. I mean, I have used Airbnbs. I suspect most of us have used them before. They can be quite useful, and I think the majority of people who use them courteously. I think the issue is when the use is discourteous, it sometimes just goes totally off the rails. And you have situations like what happened on Lincoln. And I think that it is unfortunate, I think somebody sort of brought this up during the pool discussion, that sometimes a few bad apples can ruin the whole bunch. And I think that is unfortunately the situation that we're dealing with, that we are not in a situation where we can rely on the preponderance of short-term rentals to be beneficial to the city. I think that just the proportion of them that are going to have sort of unacceptable negative side effects, I'm afraid it's just going to be too high for us to sort of allow it and wait and see. So that's my
So you
feeling.
agree?
So I agree that we should
Okay.
attempt to regulate them in commercial and mixed-use areas.
Okay, so another unanimous, it's not a decision, but unanimity in our opinion direction.
Just to summarize, we will continue to correspond with the city attorney to ensure that any language we put forward passes legal muster. I think there is a question still posed here that whether or not we even can do this in the commercial districts. Mixed-use districts might be different. I don't know. We'll work with her. We will still be discussing this very point at our next meeting as we debrief what we've heard from the commission. Because as again, we have to come to our own finding of facts on this, but we will finalize this conversation and you've given us clear direction on where your heads are at. And so we'll pull it all together on our end and see where we fall, where we land.
You had other questions
Well,
on this
I
issue?
think the city attorney has to weigh in heavily on the issue of STRs in commercial areas and STRs in mixed-use areas, which include commercial. And in particular, as it pertains to any applicable Michigan law on the question. And we need guidance on those 2 points. And it appears to me that the city commission may need some guidance on that issue also, in the form of a written opinion, not oral. Am I clear on
Fair
that?
enough. Now,
Okay.
we do prohibit certain uses, even in commercial uses in commercial districts, do we not? Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, but
Okay.
the question is whether you can prohibit all STRs in those areas. And that's the issue that the city attorney needs to give us
Okay.
guidance and you guidance.
Okay, good. So she has her.
Because I don't want the ordinance set aside because we overreach.
Right. Okay, what other questions do you have for us?
The only other question that we had really related to hoping to get a better clarity and perhaps the rationale behind the discussion of exemptions of owner-occupied dwellings. There has been discussion by some, and we heard it again tonight, about completely exempting them from all new regulations related to short-term rentals. We'd like to understand what we're trying to accomplish with this, because we're struggling understanding why we would do it. One thing that I think is very important to understand is that based on our research, I want to make sure you all understand what an owner-occupied rental technically means. Because with due respect, at the commission meeting on Monday, it was quite the conversation. It was almost an auction, 2 weeks, 1 week, 6 weeks, An owner-occupied rental is not a residential rental unit where the owner necessarily stays on premises. In fact, they probably don't. That would be a hosted rental. An owner-occupied rental is one where that is their primary residence. You heard today about the primary residence exemption from Michigan tax law. Used to be that you could only rent your home for 14 days or fewer to still qualify. That's not the case anymore because of the recent appeals court. The only guidance that we have on this is the residency requirements to be a resident of the state of Michigan, which is 183 days, as Mr. Haig brought up the other night. What that means is that somebody living in their home 183 days of the year would be allowed to rent on a short-term basis for 182 days the rest of the year with no other restrictions. And it seems to us that that is perhaps going a bit too far, frankly, in that you were trying to stop short-term rental. This is allowing somebody in that situation to rent their home out every weekend, pretty much all year long. Is that what you intended?
I don't think so.
And why?
I don't think so. Well, I think Ms. Sobelton was the poster child for this, and that doesn't mean that there aren't other examples that would be different, but she rents it for a limited number of weeks per year. I don't know how you police that and say, well, we allow you to rent it for up to 4 weeks per year. How do you divvy that up? Is that 4 weeks or is that 28 days? And how the heck do you police it?
That's why we're asking the question.
And we know, because she's our neighbor, she's here tonight, we know she lives there. She's not lying to us. Somebody else comes along and says, well, I live there. How do I know you live there, right? And, yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Birmingham has a, because it is, how shall I say this nicely, a fairly affluent community. A number of residents in Birmingham spend winters in Florida. House is vacant, except maybe for short-term rentals. So it's not a small issue. It's a big issue in some of our neighborhoods. Even some people on the planning board leave for months at a time. So you need to think through that issue. In fact, maybe I'll leave for a couple months at a time. You know, I just think it's a loophole that we need to address. I understand the concerns of a valid short-term rental that's monitored, but how are we going to police that? And how are we going to police it for 182 days? It's a difficult problem to make a broad exception. I don't think anybody on the planning board has a problem with a hosted unit. Rent out a room, rent out half your house. If you're there, that's a different issue.
Yeah, can I ask you to pursue that, the hosting issue, to make it very clear that the host has got to be there, otherwise you can't do it.
It's one of the definitions we're working on.
That's the problem, is the policing.
So I guess I'd like to ask you guys to focus your response a little more for us. Because the issue isn't, in my mind, the issue isn't do you want to do it or don't you want to do it. The issue is, do you have a tolerance for us looking at the issue at the planning board and seeing if we can understand better how extensive it is, what solutions might be. There might very well be some regulatory structure that might ameliorate the problem. Or, on the other hand, if what you're saying is we're about simple, we're about clear, we don't want to talk about exemptions, then that's a different story. But for us, Mr. Klein said a couple of times, and he's correct, we have to make an independent determination. Do you want us to, but our issue is we want to spend a lot of time on something that the commission is totally opposed to. So are you interested in, given that some members of the community have come forward and said, we have owner-occupied rentals, they're very minimal, we vet our people, whatever. Do you want us to look into that issue, or are you saying just stay away from it?
Well, we said we'd like you to look into that. We've already said that. If we weren't clear about that, I think what you're now saying to us is it's probably a little bit more complicated than you thought it was when you asked us to look into it, right? And so I will offer this. On the one hand, you have a resident who, in the original spirit of Airbnb and VRBO, is attempting to defray the high cost of living in Birmingham by renting out their home occasionally and earning some money that they can then use to pay taxes, pay the rent, right? On the other, you have a completely opposite. You have a company, that buys a home, or a person who buys a home and represents that they live there when they probably don't, and just rents it out, and tries to take advantage of the system. And in the middle, you're going to have the people that Chairman Klein described, who only live here half the year, and say, hey, what the heck? I can hire a company to manage my rentals, and it's going to be, they're not going to, they're going to get a lot of money for it. They're going to take care of the place and make some money on it. So I see a spectrum there. And, you know, as much as we want to accommodate people like Ms. Sobelton and others who may be here tonight, I think we don't want to allow, and raise your hand if I'm not accurately representing the commission's point of view. We're not real interested in helping companies or individuals profit on ownership or rental even of, and we're not looking to put a ridiculous burden. We burden the staff every day with more and more and more stuff. So we're not looking for to burden them with enforcement responsibilities that they, even in the best of circumstances, they may not even be able to do. Either one of you, duke it out.
I guess I just have to say my frustration is showing a bit. But to your last comment, we could write the best zoning ordinance in the history of zoning, and it's going to fail unless you enforce the hell out of it. So to say that we don't want to burden the staff, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to burden the staff. If you want any of this shit to work, we need more people to enforce it. Otherwise, what are we doing as a board? And I'm sorry, it's 9:30, I've been here a long time.
No, that's fine. You're making a
Hearing
very good
about
point.
everything other than what we're here for.
Don't ask for something that you're not willing to.
But enforcement is the key.
And I was just gonna say that I think that the commission originally, hearing from people like Ms. Sobelton, said it seems perfectly reasonable that I would rent my house for a minimum of a week, once or twice a year. You know, when there's a PGA tournament or something, that seems reasonable. But if it is going to be a regulatory burden, if there's no legal framework for saying minimum of 7 days and maximum of, you know, when we thought there was the 14-day rule twice a year, yes, all of the articles that Mr. Dupuy shared said that there has to be infrastructure in place. The more exceptions and the more flavors, the more infrastructure we're going to need to enforce it. And without enforcement, I mean, residents in this community tend to think that things happen because the city's allowing them. No, things happen that are already clearly illegal. We have unlicensed long-term rentals. We have unlicensed short-term rentals. And it's obviously illegal already to rent a pool, but people will still try. And so we have heard that this is going to take some management. And so perhaps for our first pass through, we should take this owner occupied off the table because we need to get this done within the 60 days that are left on our, whatever, of our moratorium.
118.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think that that's a reasonable suggestion. I mean, I think it would make them happy. I'd be interested in polling the commission on their thoughts of taking this exception, at least temporarily, off the table so that we can get the stuff we really want done quicker.
Basically, what she came down to was what I said in the first place. No exceptions, because as soon as there's an exception, you've created an exception.
Okay, so you're
There
a
is
no
wiggle.
exception.
Well,
What are you?
here's the thing. I want to also quantify this for the future discussion as well, to just put this thought into everybody's head. So let's pretend I'm an owner-occupied, I'm a host. I rent my house out. Why does that mean that the potential renter, the short-term tenant, doesn't have mental issues, doesn't have an infuriated ex-spouse, doesn't have someone else that creates a problem? Why does it always appear as though it's a party that's the problem? There could be any of these people. It doesn't matter about your demographic, your age, your salary, your income, your social status, it doesn't matter. The issues can happen with anybody. So just because you're a host doesn't mean anything as far as what the 5-star tenant is. They could have a mental breakdown that weekend and shoot everybody. It doesn't matter. So I don't want anything, I'm sorry, but I don't want to have any exceptions to the rule. I just want a blanket, we're done.
Okay.
And that's it.
We're trying to poll quickly.
No exceptions.
Okay.
I'll go no exceptions.
I will also go no exceptions.
Done.
You don't need me. Hope they help.
Game, set, match.
Next question.
Pretty clear.
All right, do we go on to
Andy
zoning now?
Wimbledon.
Huh?
Rick Wilkins open.
Hey, out of here.
I personally think that's probably it.
Yes.
Yeah,
We had a broad one, but I think
Yeah,
that's
that's it.
unnecessary at this point.
I agree.
right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That guidance is very helpful.
Public comment on short-term rentals. Again, 2 minutes.
Wow.
Come on.
My name is Julie Bergeson, and I live at 211 East Lincoln Street. I've been an Airbnb host for 11 years, over 11 years. I have paid over $1,400 to the city in permits. I have never had a violation. I screen incredibly well. I also have had pro athletes, and we've had a U.S. Open champion stay at our house 3 times. We've hosted families of Lions players. We've hosted, most of them are families, really. It's people coming for visits with grandchildren, grandparents coming to stay and see people they haven't seen in a long time. So it's bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, funerals, baptisms. If someone tells me they're coming for a wedding, I usually ask a lot of questions because weddings can be a little bit of trouble, and I screen incredibly well. We have never, ever, ever had a problem. And so this is so disappointing. Last week I came home to a notice slapped to my front door, which actually took the wood stain off of the door. There was some confusion with the city, which I got worked out, but they had thought I hadn't paid my permit fee. I had actually paid it early. And they found the fee, the amount, it was an accounting error. But I received a misdemeanor for that. I have to now show up in the 48th District Court for something that, you guys, I've been a really, really good citizen of this town. I've lived in Birmingham over 30 years. All of my neighbors, I live at Clark and Lincoln, and all of my neighbors have been in support of this. 1/3 of them have used our house as a place for their families. It's just so disappointing to feel that this decision was what I know you've been working on it since April. I have a busy life. We have, kids, and there's a lot going on. So I feel awful that I wasn't at these last 2 meetings, and now to see this video this week was shocking. I was outraged. I obviously would not want that happening at my house or next door to me or on my block. That was terrible. But we're taking a couple of incidents, it feels like, and saying we got to get rid of the whole thing. And I want you to know the people who come and stay at our house, they spend a lot of money in Birmingham. We've had people come and say, we're thinking about living here. We're thinking about moving back from California or from the East Coast, and we want to spend more time here. And could we come back in September and stay another week? I mean, these people, I see the bags and tags and, things people leave behind and luxury watches and all this stuff. They're spending a lot of money in this town, and I don't know if that's been thoroughly analyzed. I'm struggling. I'm like hearing so many things tonight and just kind of in a state of shock, really, how quickly this is all happening. Because this has been really something that's been on top of it's been a great part of our life too, I have to say. We've made friends through it. We had people who've returned again and again and again. I'm what's called a super host, and I think you are too. And it's so I don't know. Feels too late for me to get up here. I'm really upset. I was really upset last week when I found out I got a misdemeanor. I got a criminal.
Can we, I want to
Yeah.
You said that they gave you that and then found out that it was an accounting
It was a
error?
mistake. Yeah.
I think you should speak with the city attorney at some point and get that ironed out
I can clarify a little bit of that.
Okay.
The rental-
Quickly, because this is not the forum.
Right, so the rental was not paid, but it did get paid. It got somehow onto the water bill. never made it to the rental, saying, hey, it was paid. Then finding out after it was sent, doing a little digging, we found out that's where it went. Somebody put it onto the rental or in the water bill. And
Somebody in the city? So can that ticket be,
So it will be dismissed.
Yes.
But I still have to go to court.
We're working with the court to see if we can dismiss it prior to her having to appear.
It would have been nice to get a phone call.
okay, I have a question for you.
Or a letter even.
How often do you rent and where do you go when you rent your house?
We have a few rental properties, so this is like, so I'm owner occupied, I've lived there for 11 years. We also have a home in Sylvan Lake, and so we go there. When I first started renting, it was because I was also traveling for work, and sometimes I would be home and sometimes I wouldn't be. But again, if you screen your guest well, and I've never had a problem with anyone.
But, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You have a single home in Birmingham.
Correct.
That you rent out, and when you rent it out, you go to Sylvan Lake.
Correct.
Okay, thank you,
Yes.
thank you.
So it sounds like, can I ask a question?
I can't guarantee that we'll answer it, but yes.
Okay.
You can ask.
I just want to understand this moratorium and the timing on this. It sounds like from a few of you, you're saying you're trying to make a decision tonight. You were trying, but that's not going to
No,
happen.
we're trying to give direction to the planning board.
Okay.
Okay.
And how much time then would we have? Because I have guests planned through the holidays.
Probably, I don't know, when are you expecting?
The moratorium is on new.
Moratorium
short-term
doesn't
rentals.
affect you at all.
Yes, you are.
Our direction to
Right
the
now.
planning board tonight will direct them to recommend an ordinance to us. It probably will be coming to us within, I'd say, 3 months. And would take effect, how, would it take effect immediately, first of the year, something like that?
I was gonna say, my understanding is that if you have a license right now, that license will remain in effect until April
April,
15th
that's
of
correct.
2027.
That's correct.
Right, right.
So at that point, if we restrict short-term rentals in neighborhoods, you would not be able to renew that license.
Okay.
To do subsequent short-term rentals. But anything, assuming, there are
Okay, so I
not
don't have to
some other
cancel
issues.
on anyone currently
Not
for the
through- not
next
through the
year.
holidays.
And what
no.
I would suggest you do is build a case for us to consider the carve-out that we already were inclined to do. The reason we're deciding tonight not to direct the planning board to look into that is because it's too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Help them clarify it over the next number of months, and perhaps by April, we will have done that. But we're under pressure from a much broader community to do something about short-term rentals in general, and including the bad ones, right?
Yeah.
The ones where there's a company that owns them. And we can't say to the people who got shot up, sorry, we're gonna take a few more months because we gotta work out this issue.
Yeah, I understand. I do
Okay?
understand that. Yeah, I was feeling like this was going to be a very quick decision, and that was upsetting.
Yes,
So,
I can
thank you
understand.
for clarifying that.
Yes.
And
But do put your heads together with some other folks and say, how can this be done? How can it be enforceable? How can it keep the good and keep out the bad?
Yeah, I think it's personally what I see, and I appreciated what you said about, people coming here and saying, gosh, this is a really nice place to live. Those are the people that we have staying with us. Again, they're mostly families.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Just David Wynn, by the way. You've seen me before.
On TV.
Yeah.
They come to knock on my door for some reason. So I want to say I'm glad you're not getting hung up on the districts. I think we don't need to do that. I think we just have to say no more, okay? I think a mixed use, the idea is that there are residential places in it. If it becomes a short-term rental, it's commercial, strictly, okay? It's for making money. on the rental maps, I saw the rental maps. I think if we could publish those somewhere on the website so everyone could see them, I don't know if that's possible.
They're already published.
Are they? Can you have a list of addresses? Not owners, but addresses to go with it?
We do not have that at this time.
Okay, I think it would be helpful because part of the enforcement here is the neighborhoods understanding the rental properties in their neighborhoods. And if they have the addresses and understand that, we can monitor the situation.
Are you suggesting short-term?
No, I'm
rentals?
saying that
Or all
they all rentals, because to be quite honest with you, there are people that are gonna go around the rules, right? And we're gonna see traffic and maybe someone's not registered, the address isn't on the list, or they're telling you it's a long-term rental, but they're using it as a short-term rental, okay? I don't know if you can publish those addresses. I don't need the owner's names, but I think it's good for the neighborhoods. It'll only help you to enforce. There was a lot of talk about density. I think that's a future issue. I think some of it, like you say, there's a lot of apartment buildings, so we kind of overblow the density issue. And then, you know, we need a robust response, right? I think we've got to start seeing that robust response when residents report issues. The cost of enforcement, I think, is minimal if we're given the opportunity to know where those rentals are and if we get a robust response.
Okay, I don't think anybody in the city is going to hand over a list to you, but we have a thing called the Freedom of Information Act, and you can submit a Freedom of Information Act request to the city. There may be a fee for fulfilling that, and it's gonna be a snapshot. It's not gonna be like
No, I think
access to a
it's
database
something you
that's-
only have to do once a year. Every year
Well,
we have.
I'm inviting you to submit a Freedom of Information.
Okay. Okay, it's interesting that we can have a map, but not the addresses, so.
Well, we may. I mean, we surely do have the addresses.
Yes.
The way to get them, I'm telling you. I'm
I
telling you
know,
how to
it's
get them.
interesting why it can't be published in public.
There's a lot of information the city has that it does not publish.
Okay.
I personally, I think that's getting very close to a line that some people may think is crossing the line. But
Maybe look into it. I'll definitely file it if I need to, but it would be good to have those. It helps with enforcement, okay? I can point out in my neighborhood, but I don't know the exact address.
Well,
right?
you know, like I said, there's all sorts of information we have. We could publish lists of people who haven't paid their taxes on time, people whose water bills.
Well,
are
I'm not
overdue.
saying names, I'm just saying addresses.
Okay.
I
All right.
don't need the
Well, we
owner's
could
name.
put the addresses in too.
But if
Let's-
I know
think-
how many rental homes are on my street
Okay.
and where they are, it will help your enforcement, because you can't be there every
That
day.
may be true. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
All right?
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andra Sandy. I am a Birmingham resident on Suffield Avenue. I do own 3 short-term rentals in the city of Birmingham. And I do want to say that in the last few months, what happened on Lincoln, what's happened this weekend, it's been appalling, terrifying, and it's just absolutely been unacceptable. But I think there are things that we can do, actions that we can take that would greatly help, because I am in favor of regulations, ordinances, because I don't want my neighborhood unsafe. I don't want to be having my neighbors in danger and just all the chaos that's been happening. Our guests have been phenomenal. Superhosts as well. A good majority of the people who stay at our rentals, it's actually Birmingham residents, many of them, or in the very, Beverly Hills and really close by, who their homes have been flooded. They've had some kind of thing where they've had to do remodeling. Some people who who are moving into Birmingham from out of state, and they're transitioning, their house is sold, but they've got to wait till their new property is ready to be moved into. Several people, it's, divorces, but their kids are in the schools here. They want to be close by. Their kids still need to be in the district to get to school every morning. And they stay for, usually, we hardly have anybody stay for less than a week, first of all. And if we do have anybody where it's a week or less, they're highly vetted. They are here to visit family. A lot of times they even confirm that, oh yes, they're over here, and they have to be 5-star guests with many reviews. So we don't just let anybody in here. We've also worked with Airbnb reps. We've met with them. They say, as well as Verbo, they say that there are things that they can do. They say if your city does have ordinances where there's a minimum night stay requirement, their platform won't even let guests book for less than that. It doesn't even come up as an option. Owners can't even allow it. So if you have to say, hey, there's a 3-night minimum, 4-night, 5-night, whatever it may be, usually we're even good with like a 3-night. Usually most people don't want to pay the prices of a Birmingham short-term rental, for just a party or whatever that they're going to have one night. But we've spoken with them, and things like that can be put in place. You can require that the guests have a minimum of so many reviews that are 5-star, minimum night stay requirements. I think that's something we look into, because that drastically discourages just the nonsense, the people who just want to come in and, abuse the good thing, what's good for the local community. One person right now, they're from Beverly Hills, they had a house fire, so they're with us for a few months. All of our places are booked right now for 2 months or more.
Nothing we're doing is going to prevent you from renting for more than a month.
Okay, yeah, that definitely would be helpful, because there's so much good that's done as well. A lot of people, even family coming to visit, it's important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly Kozlowski, no relation to the commissioner. I am a Birmingham resident of about 15 years. I live on East Lincoln. I did just want to offer a comment. I heard some chuckling in response to my neighbor requesting a database, a list of addresses. Maybe that sounds crazy and a little overly surveilled. I will tell you, though, that what we consistently hear from law enforcement, from the building official, I think even from the commission at some points, is let us know. Call in the complaints. When you see something, say something. File a report. Let's make sure that we get it documented. Use GovPilot. So when he asks for something that would help us better monitor the conditions of our own streets and neighborhoods, maybe don't laugh at him, because this is sort of the situation that we're in. I appreciate all of the anecdotes and lovely examples of delightful tenants that fellow neighbors are bringing forward. I think at this point the commission and the planning board have realized that for every story that is delightful and pleasant and wonderful for Birmingham and its revenue, we have just as many horror stories, and for several years that people have been dealing with it. So it's lovely that we have instances where it works out great. I happen to live across the street from one where it doesn't. You've heard stories about an Airbnb occupant backing into my car while I was in it, another in a fight over a dog, and then the dog later being carried away dead because they left it out overnight. A movie shoot that set up for about a month with an RV in front of my house. These are not great tenants who are doing great things for Birmingham. And I actually am not a lot offended at the idea that I, as a permanent resident, am somehow not as valuable to the city as a tourist. As someone, I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not a famous anything, but I live here 365. And my husband and I frequent all of the businesses in the city, and I would put a year's worth of our receipts for money spent in Birmingham up against the collective receipts of any Airbnb property in this city. I guarantee we are spending more money in this city and paying more attention to what's happening in this city, as evidenced by our consistent attendance at these meetings and willingness to wait 3.5, 4 hours for 2 minutes of time. I'm really upset that we're so focused on getting people to come here so that they want to move here. I already live here. I would like a reason to stay here And I wish that was being prioritized too.
I have to ask you, did you not hear what we did tonight?
I did, and then I also heard you say, you know what? Folks that own rentals, get together and come up with some ways that we can continue to
And if they
rethink
can, that
this.
is, hey, the floor is open, okay? But we're taking solid action tonight that is beneficial to your point of view.
Which I appreciate, and also in response to several people trying to make a case for why you should reconsider or consider adjustments, I'm just wanting to make sure that my voice is heard as well.
It absolutely is heard. I think there's ample evidence that your voice is heard.
Yeah, Eric Kohler, 1376 East Lincoln. Yeah, I think my point will be short. Just when you're working on this further and to finalize it, think about whether you want to lean toward building community or if you want to build more commercial aspects within the city. I think we really want to focus on, at least our opinion is community is what we're trying to build here and what we enjoy about the place.
Yeah, and I think we agree.
Thanks.
Hi, Eve Pickman, Birmingham, Michigan. I swore I wasn't going to speak tonight. I'm speaking tonight. I've heard conversations about having adequate police resources, adequate building department resources. I'm going to go back to the conversation I had the very first time I spoke out against short-term rentals, about software that the mayor of Huntington Woods actually told me about at the convention down at, what is it, Huntington Place, Cobo, whatever it is this week, called Granicus, that allows various departments to communicate with each other against code violations where there have been police reports. I know of a short-term rental in my neighborhood that I don't even know if the host knows about it, but one of their guests caused a hit-and-run accident on that street. I assure you, the building department doesn't know about it, and the police department had a hard time tracking the vehicle down because it was a rental vehicle picked up at the airport, not registered to any property in Birmingham. So that was a whole 360 chasing my tail thing. So let's not worry about maybe bringing on more officers at night and relying on relationships with partner communities in Oakland County. Let's look into having software to make your current staffing more effective and more efficient. Because seriously, I heard about this from the mayor of Huntington Woods, and there are a number of communities in the area watching exactly what Birmingham does and will follow your suit. So this is a unique opportunity for the city to set a good example as a place to live, a place to work, a place to be employed by. And God knows, I am not a fan of AI. My former position has been eliminated by AI. This is an opportunity for AI to actually do good for the community.
Thank you.
Jonathan Hoffley, 443 Wellesley. I know the meeting is about two things, which is short-term rentals and zoning. And I know there's a comment about dealing with mixed zone.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to make the comment that dealing with the STRs in these other districts, I'm having a hard time understanding that in light of the possible changes to our zoning that are upcoming that we're considering is the other part of the meeting. So that's just the one question I had as a resident. Like, if we say in our current zoning, you know, there are areas that might be in question as commercial or mixed or whatever, if those areas are going to be changing upcoming, would people be, you know, not anticipating STRs that could end up in those areas? So does that make sense?
I don't think we're anticipating. Do you want to answer that? I don't think we're anticipating a lot of.
I'll just say that I hate to make absolute statements.
No, it's fine.
I don't anticipate that we are changing zoning in any of the mixed-use areas.
I know enough to be dangerous about the topic. I just
the
know
zoning
there's-
ordinance amendment that we're talking about is really simply bringing it into compliance with the new master plan. So the
Right.
intent, there will be some changes, but it's not, the intention is to reorganize and bring it into compliance with the master plan. So, it's a valid question, but
Yeah,
I don't
I just know there's unintended consequence.
see that as an issue. Good
Thank
question.
David Bloom, Birmingham resident.
it seems to me that the major issue is not the short-term rental itself, it's the usage. And so, when I was younger and I wanted to rent a car, you go to a car rental agency, you had to be 25 years old and you had to have a credit card. I'm wondering if bonding for a rental or a short-term rental, requiring insurance, putting some other restrictions on might incentivize having short-term rentals, or that might be good for the community, and then put some heftier fines and consequences on people that abuse that. And if something like that might not be a way to shut it down, instead of just having a blanket ban. And it would make more sense to have short-term rentals, I think, in commercial districts or downtown, in an apartment building maybe. But again, the mayor's point of how do those residents feel about it? And that's where the notice comes in. And I understand that there's a lot of pressure on trying to make a decision and getting it done quickly, but it also needs to be done the right way, and I think the planning board's doing a good job trying to do that and bringing good questions. And I think being a little bit cautious while still trying to fast track a decision is the best course of action. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I add something to what you said? I also, in addition to some of the other things that I know the platforms can require, you know, the minimum night stays, they can also require minimum age as well, and require that the ID and things like that be uploaded to. That's just something I wanted to add, that is, if the city says that they want to do that and the rep knows it, it won't even be allowed when they try to rent.
I have a question. Along the same lines of wondering if you could get a list of all the homes where rentals are, is there a list of all the emails or some way to contact everyone or rental owners that's public?
If it was FOIA.
Yeah.
There was an email
Same thing for you?
included.
Okay. And as far as, you know, the next steps as far as owner-occupied Airbnbs, and I understand what you guys are saying as far as, because when I got my rental with a license, you know, you have to live there for one day more than half of the year, and I understand how all that can work out. I'd love to offer any help I can to draft anything or think through or talk about the ideas. If I can help either the planning board or the city commission, I'll of course get with those that I can. I do believe there's a lot more likely people who are doing what we're doing, but they're not here. They're not aware of what's happening over the last few months, and I think they'll regret not being here. I will regret them not being here, because like you said, Andrew, I'm one of 22,000, and that's unfortunate for me. And I really hope that we can figure out a way to make it more possible, you know, and something that we could work out. So I want to toss it out there that if I can help in any way, I will, and I'd love to. And I will ask for that email list so we can try to find others.
Advocacy is something you do.
I get it, yeah.
We don't ask you to be an advocate. So.
And what do you mean by that? As in?
I mean, you sound like you're offering to help.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who is effective as an advocate, it's not, don't wait for somebody to ask you to help, just be the advocate.
Right, yeah. I've been trying to.
Yeah, and, you know, this is why we're talking.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else, please, quickly? Oh, I thought he was coming back. Okay, sorry. Online, we have?
Not anymore.
Not anymore, you gave up. Can we scroll to make sure?
They would be
Be at the top.
All right.
All right, so we're done with that topic. Are we done with that topic, short-term rentals? Can we take a 5-minute break? No. Okay. Well, I'm taking 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
Or a 2-minute. we're back in session. Bang. Nick or Scott?
Nick to start, and I hope you'll forgive me for being a little bit blunt. This is not an unimportant project by any stretch of the imagination. It's of course very important. But I guess in the scheme of tonight, and specifically where we are in this process, it's a little bit awkward in terms of timing. We did promise you that we'd come to these joint meetings, and this would be a topic, because it's important. At this point, though, we have done a lot of work. It's been 6 months about. The consultant team, Hauser Levine, is off doing step 3, which is reviewing our existing ordinance, the 180-something page document in great detail, synthesizing that with all of the engagement they've done so far, and providing us with some preliminary recommendations. We're expecting those late June, early July. We don't have them yet. All I have for you is everything you've seen on the website, which I did update today with some summaries from the public engagements in April. So I'd like to just kick it back with you, to you, Mayor, to give me anything else, anything high level and concise that you might like to add to the conversation at this admittedly awkward point before we the rubber hits the road in a way and we start to get down to the real work. So Scott, anything to add?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Well, this could go quickly then. I guess my biggest question is with community engagement and how that's gone. I know that will continue, but you have it down here as one of the first 2 steps, project initiation and community engagement, as if it's sort of isolated. And I suspect it's not isolated, but it's begun.
Ongoing.
That's right, and that was kind of
How is it going?
How is it going on? As in,
do you
what's the
feel like
response
the
we're getting?
community is sufficiently engaged?
That's a hard question to answer. I think there's 2 sides to this coin. I think that Hauser Levine is meeting expectations in terms of what they've promised to us. And yes, although it's listed separately, just to be clear, community engagement is throughout the process. So the April engagement wasn't the first or last time that you'll be hearing about it. I think that we could always do a little bit better, of course. We've got a project website. We've been, as I mentioned, communicating through the newsletter and things like that. We're talking internally about getting a little more creative about our engagement, because when these types of things come out, the existing zoning ordinance analysis, for example, this is heavy stuff, this is technical stuff, and we want people to be able to ask questions and understand it, because that's the most important part of zoning. So we are working through internally on some creative ideas, I'll say, on how to improve our engagement outside of the scope of Hauser Levine's contract.
So, I'll just add one more thing and then open it up. For me, it's like, I don't want people coming along at the last minute and saying, you didn't, I just heard about this. That happens a lot, right? And I
Of
don't
course.
know how you eliminate that, but that's what if you could eliminate that, community engagement would be perfect, right?
You'll never eliminate it.
Yeah, I could tell you we'll try our best, but that's kind of the insidious part about public engagement, is that's just a part of it. So we'll try our best, of course.
And on top of that, zoning isn't exactly the most exciting project.
Right.
I shut my mic off.
Zoning isn't.
Zoning is not an exciting topic that the public is, you'll never get as many people to a zoning meeting as you did tonight.
I guess if you can anticipate the types of things that are gonna set them off and bring them out sooner rather than later, right?
Well, and 2, it's about the way you talk about it. So I can't just approach somebody and say, hey, do you think the minimum height standards in R2 is appropriate? You speak to them about how they feel and what they see in the neighborhoods, and then it's our job as professionals to translate that into something tangible.
Yeah.
So it's a lot about how you speak about it.
Right.
Commissioner Host?
Yeah, this is actually piggybacking on the mayor. The first public outreach, I believe 10 people showed up. Am I exaggerating, or am I underestimating? It was 11?
I think that's a fair figure.
Okay.
And what you're talking about is the
And
public open house.
have
just
you
for everybody
talked
to know.
with our consultant about how that, in a sense, was a nothing meeting? You know, it didn't work out. And you're thinking creatively.
That's why I
I'm
suggested
asking.
we're thinking creatively outside of the scope. Most of what you'll hear from not only House of Levine, but other zoning consultants like this or planning consultants, is that type of result is typical. Now, whether or not we accept typical is a different question, which I'm suggesting to you that I'm not so sure that we're going to accept, and it's why we're thinking creatively about how to get these types of conversations out a little bit better. So it might have been our first attempt, and we have learned from it, I would say. And I like to think that we would grow from something like that, and not to be repetitive, but do a little better, I'll say.
So just a general observation on the community outreach side of things for communication. And this is not a criticism of how we do it. I think it's just an unfortunate change in reality. And I'll use the example of the community survey. So I had to ask, where do I find this public URL? Oh, it's put on social media. Well, I've been looking for it because I'm the one that asked for it. I never saw it come through, so I had to hunt it down. And then as far as communicating with people, I asked one of my neighbours, hey, have you filled out the survey? Oh yeah, I got something from the city. I threw it away. So it's the problem that I see is not a criticism of us trying. It's the problem that there is so much information just flooding everybody. It's like the emails I get from my kids' schools. Good grief. Like 4 a day from each school. I don't read them. If you want something important from me, call me. So the problem that we're seeing here is just too much coming at everybody. And we flood an awful lot of stuff out ourselves as well. I mean, the flip news, I read it. But boy, it gets kind of long at 35, 36 pages or whatever it is these days. We have to all figure out how to try and condense this down to key messaging. And the key messaging is probably sometimes less messaging. So that when it actually does arrive, it's more a case of, oh, what's this? As opposed to, oh, good grief, not another one. And that may be part of what we're seeing here, Nick, is just that flood of, read me as well. We're just done. I'm done.
Yeah, and you're one of 22,000, to steal your phrase, because you stole him.
Feel free to steal it.
And I feel that way too, but I think there's plenty of residents in this town that have all the time in the world to read all the things that they get too. So it's got to be more than one approach. We've got to make
not arguing. I'm just giving
comfortable,
a commentary on what I
Yeah,
think is failing in general, and it's nothing to do with the city as well. I point out for my kids' schools, both of them, it's the same problem. It's just a flood. It just kind of needs to be one thing for however we consolidate everything, and then just pick the major bullets out of it, and then. I don't have a better solution. I'm just pointing out that is a problem overall, and that's why I think you're. With the most exciting subject on earth, struggling with an audience.
So is that it?
Yep.
Hallelujah.
We're short and sweet.
Well, welcome to our world.
Okay, any
This is a short meeting.
public comment on the zoning rewrite? Nobody online? Anybody in the room want to comment? Any further comment?
Sure, as a former marketing professional.
You'll have to approach the microphone.
So as a former marketing professional, right, Bill? I'm not gonna say you're gonna make zoning sexy, but my God, they managed to sell adult diapers. How do you put a positive spin on something that everyone really is impacted in their life at some level, but really isn't interesting? Short and sweet is the answer. 5 key bullets. Zoning Tuesday, shootout a week. People know, oh, Birmingham's posting about zoning on Tuesdays and on parks on Fridays. And throw it out on social media, 5 bullet points. Want to learn more? Click this link and we'll take you into all 38 pages of this unbelievably dry document for the people who have time to read everything now. Am I not telling you the truth?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. No, seriously.
I do
Look at it from marketing it. look at, seriously, adult incontinence products. If they're able to market those, you can market zoning. And I'm now going away.
Thank you. So these proposals that are in front of the legislature to remove local control and dramatically change, you know, minimum lot sizes and things like setbacks. It's not directly related, but that's something that would get people.
Oh.
You think it's going nowhere, is that right?
No, I just think it'll kill us.
It would kill us. But my suggestion is maybe that's a way to draw people into the whole topic. Say, hey, by the way, we're doing this work on our zoning, which, by the way, might all be for naught if your state legislature does what they're talking about.
Let's not go there. We'll be here another hour.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, adjourn. All those in favor?
Thank you, planning board.
Yeah, I'm gonna charge you.